but I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
With the rockets or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. They were too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
I need help, please help!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0,
doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, X, Twitch, D Live, and Kick, and Rumble, and iRumble. And we're broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting and 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, as usual, I got a doozy for you. It's interesting, some of the things that kind of come out in the scientific realm, new discoveries every day. And as we talk about this quickening, right, I continually keep pressing this idea because it feels like we're there. It feels like all the things they're discovering on a daily basis are not simply, like the old science was. It seems like not just the headlines are becoming more and more sensational, but on top of that, it also feels as if there's something a little more magical, dare I say, with some of these things. I mean, they're talking about all manner of, custom medications and whatnot and all the rest. Yeah, it's a wild thing to consider. And, well, let's just begin at the beginning because, of course, I like to cite the inspiration for the show and give credit where credit is due because there are a great many amazing scientists out there doing fantastic work, really pushing the boundaries of what the future is going to look like. And like I said, we do play a small role in that as this group, as these having these conversations. It's because if we can't dream of it, the architects of the future can't build it, okay? And so there is, we do carry a small role there. And as we've talked about in the past, science fiction certainly informs what future science becomes, true science. Now, here's a bizarre thing. It started with this article. This is from iflscience.com. And as simple as this, the headline is wild. Listen to this. Scientists put a human language gene into mice, and curious things unfolded. Right? Like what the hell is that? Yeah, there you go. I actually, The Secret of Nim is based on a true story, right? Right. Okay. So you see where my mind goes with this instantly, and so does yours. And many of you are thinking similar things to me. But here's the thing, right? Here's the wild part of it. I'm going to read just a little bit of this because this is an incredible thing. In a quest to understand complex speech, scientists inserted what's been dubbed a human language gene into mice. Remarkably, the genetic tweak had a profound impact on the little rodent's ability to squeak. revealing astonishing clues about the evolution of vocal communication. Curiouser and curiouser, I might say. Mouse pups that had the human version of the language gene showed different vocalization patterns from their buddies with the usual what the usual mice actually produce sound-wise. When calling for their mother, their squeaks were higher pitched and featured a different selection of sounds than usual. Weird, right? That's odd. Quote, all baby mice make ultrasonic squeaks to their moms, and language researchers categorize the varying squeaks as 4 letters, S, D, U, and M. We found that when transliterated, the squeaks made by mice with the human-specific language gene variant, they were different from those of the wild-type mice. Some of the letters had changed. Robert B. Darnell, study author and head of the Laboratory of Molecular Neuro-Oncology at Rockefeller University, said in a statement. Here is the statement, and I'll have all these links, of course, are in the description down below. But this is a wild thing to consider because the super interesting thing about this, there's a lot of things kind of in play here. But the wild part to me is the fact that I should just read from the thing here instead of trying to riff this, because science is a little, I'm not a scientist, so forgive me on that. I do, again, appreciate our scientists out there, despite what my detractors may say. However, listen to this. This is incredible. I'm going to read it straight from the write-up because this really gets at the heart of as I always talk about, what it means to be human and what makes us different from the animal kingdom. And, I'm not arguing consciousness or any of that stuff because I'm pretty sure most of us would probably agree that animals are conscious in some way. Okay. And even maybe more conscious than us. Who really knows when you start to measure that stuff? But anyway, listen to this. The boundary between human and animal communication has long fascinated scientists. A recent groundbreaking experiment ventures into this mysterious territory by exploring how a single human gene might have altered the course of our evolutionary history. Researchers have inserted the human version of a gene called Nova1 into mice, creating a living laboratory to study the genetic roots of language evolution. These genetically modified mice display striking changes in their vocal patterns. Mouse pups carrying the human Nova1 gene produce ultrasonic squeaks with distinctly higher pitches and altered sound structures compared to their normal counterparts. Perhaps even more intriguing, adult male mice with the human gene variant demonstrated more complex high-frequency vocalizations during courtship behaviors with females. Hear that? Almost as if they're singing to one another. Okay? The secret of NIM indeed, right? And it's strange where we have one little tweak, one little thing. So let me continue. The Nova1 gene exists across many species. And this is the interesting part, super interesting. But many species, it contains a critical difference in humans, this Nova1 gene. This gene codes for a protein involved in neural functions. And the human variant differs by just a single amino acid substitution. Catch that? So the Nova1 gene in humans, the variant differs by just a single amino acid substitution. This minuscule change appears to influence a cascade of genes related to vocalization capabilities. Okay? Now, the secret of NIM, again, comes to mind as part of this, or even animals of old that are told from folklore and fairy tales and some of these other things. And what if this is a gene that could be turned on and turned off? Maybe some of the ancient ancestral animals actually had some of these things cooked into it, and we don't really know yet because we haven't discovered them yet. We haven't discovered all of the ancient fauna, of course, because there's a ton of it. And I don't know, it's got me thinking and got my mind reeling in this place, in the language space. And as you guys know, we talked about this quite a lot in the past with the language of the birds, or the primordial language, which supposedly everybody was able to speak, including by some accounts, the Tower of Babel story, animals, where people were able to communicate with animals directly through something like this, right? It's incredible to consider that maybe, just maybe, something like this could create fawns or centaurs, or the Dungeons and Dragons actual monster manual starts to come to life for a moment. And I got a whole list of actual speaking entities from the folklore days, and of course mythology and all the rest. But it's weird, isn't it? One single thing. So the question really becomes tonight: is it possible then for mice to one day just start talking? And how long would this take? And could you kind of coax more out of it? And you get what I mean? It's incredibly strange. And I'm calling this, of course, speech as sorcery, the science behind ancient incantations, because imagine if you go back to the abracadabra, the word itself. It's a fascinating thing. It's a magic word. As we say the magic word. Of course, that's please in modern parlance, but in a little bit, go back a little ways, and it was instead abracadabra itself. Now, that word in and of itself is incredibly interesting. We'll get to that in a moment here, but that's where my mind is at. Is it possible then that our ability to speak with this one gene has actually turned us into masters of reality? Okay, and what I mean, of course, is we're able to manifest the future by speaking it in ancient style incantations or spells. That's what's on my mind tonight. Hope you guys are doing well. Good to take a quick break and get a word from our sponsor. In this case, of course, that's Human Inspiration. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds coming up in exactly 1 minute. Phone lines will be up, and love to hear your thoughts on this. We're taking calls on the Discord and on the phone line. And I don't know. It's weird, right? This is a weird one. Be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up. Don't go anywhere.
In a world increasingly shaped by AI, human inspiration remains the beating heart of creativity. Alien Skin by Tremble, a hauntingly beautiful piano ballad, reminds us that while algorithms can mimic art, the raw, unfiltered emotions of human experience are irreplaceable.
So here I sit, locked in my room again.
Written and composed by Jesse Ian in collaboration with Todd Smith, this progressive masterpiece delves into the depths of internalized grief and the silent toll of artistic compromise. As AI reshapes our reality, Alien Skin stands as a testament to the timeless power of human emotion and the complex beauty that only true artists can evoke. Experience the haunting beauty of Alien Skin by Tremble and support human inspiration. Available now on iTunes.
Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. How you doing? Hope everybody's well tonight. Let us continue, shall we? Now, back to this. The bizarre part is, like I said, you guys know if you've listened for any amount of time, you know my love of Dungeons and Dragons and how it weaves in not just mythology and folklore, but also the larger context of, as I always say, what it means to be human. There's magic in there. There's adventure. There's monsters. There's sorcery. There's all of these wild things, including, of course, there's very particular spell rules. And we've talked about this in the past, the somatics with the waving of the hand, sort of like Doctor Strange might do, the actual spell words as you speak them, because, of course, you have to be able to differentiate what spell is sort of directed in terms of the intention and the focus and all the rest of the things, and particular spell words. If you read them out of order, it might backfire horrifically. And this also harkens to, as I bite my tongue there, this also harkens to the modern space where I talk about words as something that could be used in a very positive way, or they can be used to inspire, okay? Or words can be used to manipulate, as usual. And so in the most basic sense, it seems that level of magic, call it magic, call it whatever you want to call it, is certainly in play with human speech. And I do wonder if at some point that we were able to really start manifesting reality and even bring about, past the Iron Age and whatnot, and get us into, where we, reach the moon and we're headed to Mars. You know what I mean? It's an incredible thing, because clearly if you can't communicate with each other, you can't cooperate. If you can't cooperate, then suddenly nobody's going to Mars or the moon or anywhere else. We're probably going to be fighting with each other. So not only is it a critical gene variant here we're talking about for the human species, but also is it a critical variant, let's say, in the larger sense of galactic communication. Meaning sort of like an IQ test. Like if we can't speak and communicate properly with each other, we can't inspire each other, we can't do these things, collaborate, cooperate, all that stuff. If we can't do it, then maybe there's a reason why the aliens don't come around, right? Or, conceptually, I'm not saying they're not here or whatever. Like I said, you decide on that. That's a tale for another time, or we may get into that deeply in the discussion here. That part's in the write-up a little bit as well. But it feels that almost as if when you're talking about language in that capacity, that there's something magical to it. And of course, these ancient incantations, they're all built on chanting, all this stuff, right? A lot of the old ritual that has basically been kind of brought about were old chants, were songs, were, sort of manifesting reality with tones, with energy, frequency, and vibration, as Nikola Tesla famously talked about. And so in that particular context, to me, I'm like, all right, well, maybe this is the gene of consciousness itself. Or what if aliens have like for instance, let's go to aliens again for a second here. What if they have like a Nova 1 gene that has 2 tweaks to it, or 3, and they're able to, I don't know, communicate via telepathy? Or, I mean, is this the level of thing that kind of comes from it? Or speak in tones that are not just alien, but maybe we can't even hear them, right? So quiet or so high pitched that they just are not in the basis of human hearing. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird to consider all this stuff. But anyway, back to what I was saying regarding this and words as spells, and in particular abracadabra. And we talked about this a little bit in the past, but not in a massive way. But it's sort of a fascinating footnote when it comes to magic, when it comes to casting spells, when it comes to magic words. And I'll just read it. It's better to read it. Abracadabra. This is from Wikipedia, so mileage may vary. Abracadabra is a magic word historically used as an apotropaic, I can't even say it, incantation on amulets and common today in stage magic. It is of unknown origin. And that's an interesting thing. There's a lot of talk that's been kind of kicked around regarding the word abracadabra that people kind of don't really know where it came from, but it's been around forever. Anyway, so abracadabra is of unknown origin and is first attested in a 2nd century work of Serenus Semonicus. Yeah, right? 2nd century. Some conjectural etymologies are just guessing here because they don't really know. From phrases in Hebrew that mean, I will create as I speak. Think about that. Think about manifesting reality with tones and words and frequencies and vibrations and spells, ancient incantations. Or Aramaic, I create like the word. Also fascinating and interesting to consider what that means for sort of us asking for something from the universe and getting it in return, or the power of prayer, praying for something and having some sort of resonant effect on the noosphere, or the actual literal larger zeitgeist that maybe the animal and human kingdom share. Who knows? And that becomes the weird part of this. Let's see. There's another one here. Other etymologies. Let's see. Point to similar words in Latin and Greek as abraxas, maybe abracadabra again, or its similarity to the first 4 letters of the Greek alphabet: alpha, beta, gamma, delta. However, no documentation has been found to support any of the various conjectures from Wikipedia. So the actual basis of this particular word, abracadabra, is still, to this day, unknown. Nobody knows where this comes from. It's almost as if it is part of some ancient primordial language, that language of the birds, the language pre-Tower of Babel from the biblical story, of course, where everybody could communicate together. And, well, it was problematic because then we, built a rocket ship and went to the moon. Oh, that's not what happened. We built a tower so high that we were able to reach the heavens. Interesting. Some parallels, eh? Interesting. But anyway, so as the story goes, God was mad about all that and said, nope, you can't cooperate like that on a societal level. So he busted everybody down and told them they speak different languages now and live in different places. And suddenly, well, then we started fighting, right? Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so the historian Dan Skimmer suggests that it might originate from the Hebrew phrase ha-braka-dabara, name of the blessed. Pardon my actual Hebrew. I don't speak any of these languages, so anyway, but said to be a magical phrase. The Aramaic linguist Steve Caruso also argues that abracadabra can neither be Aramaic nor Hebrew, and suggests that the popularization of the mistaken etymology is a result of an extended discussion of an early internet message board. What? Which credits Rabbi Lawrence Kushner with publishing a modern etymology. Anyway, it's interesting how the internet can kind of affect these sorts of conversations, right? But anyway, you get the point here. There's something to the spoken word, and clearly it's the basis of what we do on this show. It's radio. It's people communicating with each other. It's broadcasting out into that digital darkness, as I say, and it's wild. It's wild. Like I said, you can use this to tear people down, language and ideas and, thought forms and all the rest of this stuff, or you can use it to inspire people. And like I said, in the most basic form, to me, that seems magical in intent. Okay. Now, spell components and again, the somatics and the spell words and all the rest of this stuff really kind of come into play, not just for the Dungeons and Dragons rule set and for balance and whatnot, because, you can't just cast Fireball forever and ever, over and over. You got to have spell components and you got to have particular proper rest and you have to have this spell exactly memorized. And, there's a bunch of that stuff sort of balance wise, but it also makes some sense that if you're able to manifest something in the space of the real world, it's magical. Dare we say magic itself? It feels like there should be some sort of limiter to keep you from just glowing and floating all the time, right? And like I said, get back to me when you're glowing and floating, and I'll believe you are whatever you tell me you are. Meaning, other than just the special humans that you are, but right, that's the sort of my criteria. I always joke about. Yeah, if you got all the answers, you should be able to glow and float, right? Let's see what that looks like. Anyway, which is a good time, by the way, to drop the disclaimers. There's no truth to be found here. This is just ideas. This is just talking about the future and how it meets the past and what we're dealing with as we kind of talk about these ideas together and magic itself, as usual. So the questions start with that. Do you think magic is real? Magic in and of itself. How would you define that? Second, what about this bizarre gene from these mice, right? The actual the single protein that supposedly helped shape the emergence of spoken language. How strange is that? And how bizarre is it that the entire animal kingdom, the mammal kingdom, has this gene, but ours is just tweaked one little way, a single protein. And we speak. And we're making magic as part of it, right? Okay, as again, conceptually, if you don't believe in magic, that's cool. Like I said, no truth to be found here, just ideas. If you're here for the truth, you're totally in the wrong place. This is just possibilities and what this might look like as we kind of enter the quickening of the age of Aquarius, as we always talk about it. But I don't know. What do you think about this? And as we start, that's the beginning here, but it gets into a lot of other wild ideas per usual, because once you start scaling this type of stuff, you're like, all right, well, what does that mean when you look at other angles, other possibilities here? And there's a bunch of things that came up. Like I said, the write-up today is really good again. So I do recommend that you read that. It's on the Substack. You can find that at troubledminds.org. On the very top, it says newsletter. Just click that, follow the newsletter, and you won't miss any of the Substack stuff that comes out, which is where all the write-ups are, which is, of course, this right here. And so, yeah, do go follow. Appreciate the folks that have followed over there, and then leave me nice comments on Substack and restack them or whatever it's called. So thank you for that. But you get my meaning here now. And this is the case, and we have one tiny tweak that changes all of that between the mammal version that all the rest of the animals use and the version we use that causes us to do this. That causes Mike to have a big mouth. Damn it, Mike has a big mouth. This guy's always talking, right? And so that becomes the thing. I mean, for better or worse, here we are. And clearly, it is sort of the hallmark of modern civilization, communication, not just the written word, but the spoken word is part of it. And remember, too, when you kind of put these ideas together and go all the way back thousands of years, before the written word, it was the spoken word. It was that oral tradition of campfire stories. It was kind of passing on ancient wisdom through songs or chanting or tales or the bard. And so it brings us back to the mice. And now these mice, with this particular human gene put into them, I know it's a little blasphemous, isn't it? Don't you think? A little bit strange where we're like, oh yeah, we'll just put some human genes into these mice. What could go wrong? But then they started, conceptually singing to each other and communicating in different ways that differentiate them from the other mice that did not have this human gene. How bizarre is this? And how deep does this get? Yeah, that's what's on my mind tonight. We'll get to some other stuff, of course. The talking animals, the language of the birds, like we said, the Tower of Babel plays here. There's a lot of things happening with this, and I do wonder, like I said, maybe the aliens have a slightly evolved, a different gene, one single other tweak that they have, where maybe it turns on telepathy, which, by the way, was just, patented by Elon Musk, the term telekinesis and telepathy by Elon Musk and Neuralink. They just patented that. Anyway, that's what's on my mind tonight. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm just doing my best. I am tired and had a long day, and I'm just here doing mic stuff. So I appreciate you guys hanging out and being a part of these conversations. Love to hear your thoughts on this. The phone lines are open. The Discord is open if you want to put your hand up. I see you, Kramos. You're coming up next right after the break. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And how weird is this? And does it seem like, maybe, just maybe, with the quickening on the way and all these weird tweaks we're discovering, that we're going to find that the idea of the secretive Nim and talking animals from the days of yore aren't as ridiculous as we expect it to be. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this. We got Kramos coming up and your calls as well. I don't know. There's a lot here. Be right back. Don't go anywhere. More on the way.
Shadows deep where the ancients roam, whispers of the past echo through the stone, where the voice is clear. All creatures unite, speak to me in tongues, lost from ages gone. Let the words unfold into the primal song. Through the misty haze, giant forms take flight, hearing their tales underneath moonlight, silent in their grace, yet loud as the sea. Speak to me in tongues, lost from ages gone. Let the words unfold in a primal song. Feel the ancient call rising from the ground in the heart of us all. The truth can be found. Speak to me in tongues, lost from ages gone. Let the words unfold in a primal song. The circles hum where the future meets the past. Echoes of their voices in every shadow cast. Speak to me in ways resonate so strong. Reverberate the truth.
What's up, guys? There's some cool parts of that song, but I'm not sure I like it overall. How you guys doing? Hope everybody's well tonight. Like I said, running a smidge late and long day. I drove the Four Seasons today. I was in snow blizzard, rain, you name it, high winds, all at different times. It was crazy stuff. But we made it. We're home. Everything's good, and I'm safe. And yeah, thankful for that. What's up, hiker emoji? What's up? We got Puffus here, Ephemerance. How you doing, North Vixen? Good evening. I hope you guys are well tonight. Thanks for all the nice retweets and all the nice comments and all the places. Appreciate that very much. If I missed you, just say hi. I want to say hi back. Trying to do my best here and keep up with everybody and everything as we go. Let's see. Over to oops, that's not the best. Let's what's up? Fred is here. What's up, Ioxy? How you doing? We got Richard in Texas. Good evening, guys. Hello. Yep, Steve Miller. Was it Steve Miller a little bit? Maybe. Oh, Abracadabra, the song. Yeah, definitely. Lucid Dreaming. What's up, Shane? How are you? MJ. Yep, phone lines are working, so you can give us a call there. We got Kramos coming up first, and then whoever wants to pop in here. It's a weird one, right? The actual sort of civilization aspect began with speech, and we got this one gene we're now pumping into mice. What the hell? Here we go. Troubled Minds happening now. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, DLive, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting and, of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, could a single gene mutation truly bridge the gap between animal sounds and human language? As mice carrying the human Nova-1 gene produce altered vocalizations, profound questions emerge. Did language evolve partly as sort of a psychic defense, as sort of a, again, maybe chanting rituals tapped into reality-altering properties? You see with this head, suddenly once you have language, all of this stuff opens up. And I see that some people in the chat over there on Rumble saying, mantras, affirmations are one way to kind of look at this in a particular way. You speak it to the world, and that sort of, now it starts to become a thing. It starts to become whatever that is. Just like this, look, me rambling all these wild ideas to myself. I would never say all these things out loud, but look, you say them out loud and people hear them, and it resonates, and then suddenly it's turned into this amazing space we have together. So it's strange. It's a strange thing. And I think that's why this quickening may turn, like I said, as I've always said, we'll discover something really wild about consciousness that we never dreamed of. And in this particular space, when we're putting these genes, these human genes into mice, they start singing. I mean, not directly like, what's the guy, the famous opera guy? What the hell's his name? You know what I mean? Pavarotti, right? Pavarotti, whatever, pardon my Italian. But they're not singing like that, but their actual vocalizations are not mouse-like anymore. They are, but they're sort of a higher order, almost as if they're communicating in a larger subset of sounds as language, as a basis for language. It's an incredible thing to consider, and it's only mice. I mean, poor mice. They take the brunt of all the scientific endeavor and, get their backs broken all the time and stuff. But, horrific stuff if you've ever worked in a lab or know anybody who does that. But it's one of those things where mice, imagine the secretive NIM. And one day, one of these things just looks up and goes, we don't like you doing all this testing on us, scare the crap out of the scientists, right? And is a day like that coming? That's really what's on my mind tonight. A lot of other things to get to as part of it, but I'd rather talk to you than hear me. Yeah, exactly. Sweet says it right. Speak it into existence. Exactly. Magic. Okay. True magic, at least setting intention and focus and the affirmations and that type of thing. Surely, I mean, they've done studies on this stuff, and it's definitely a thing. Why though? And is this particular gene the magic space that turns animals into humans? And of course, humans into aliens. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this. Thanks for being patient. Kramos, what's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. Kramos in Chile. How are you, sir? And go right ahead.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. What's going on, my man? Welcome to the joint. Happy whatever night it is. And what do you think about this?
Hello. How are you?
Pretty good. I'm pretty good. Thank you for asking. And you?
Fine. I had this great day today.
Glad to hear it. That's amazing.
Well, where can I begin? I think it's, me, my friend, I think it's the other way around. I think the mice are testing us, or at least the mice are testing the science community,
How so? Explain. How would they be doing that?
Science have always tested in mice some advance first, and they still do. But if you're talking about a gene to make mice sing, is that right, huh?
Well, not necessarily. I'm taking a little artistic liberty with that. So they're not really singing, but they are creating vocalizations that are extended past what normal mice do. So kind of. I mean, vocalizations, different. So maybe singing. I mean, like I said, there's a little bit of artistic license there in describing that way, but it's not entirely accurate. Just as a back that up.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. No problem.
Thank you for the explanation. I think it's there. Well, you know me, I believe in a higher power, and I think this testing on animals for future science, I think, well, there's a lot of cruelty in it. I'm not gonna give you examples, but there's a lot of cruelty to the animal kingdom. And in my belief system, I think those animals are protected by a higher power, and I think they are putting themselves to the field so the science community can keep studying and evil scientists can keep studying. Meanwhile, the other humans, they are not scientists and they are not making cruelty on animals, can freely keep awakening in this jump. Meanwhile, the science community still looking for facts and reality to be absolutely sure about their truth. So I think it's the other way around. I think those animals and that exercise that humans are testing on animals is just a way to keep the evil or the ignorant humans trapped in this science loop, endless loop. Meanwhile, the other part are myself jumping. That's what can I say?
What was the word you said there? You yourself what? I didn't catch it.
Which one?
Just what you finished with. There was a particular word I didn't hear. Go ahead.
That is what can I say? Because there's a lot of science that doesn't involve testing on animals. And for example, here in Chile, there's a lot of magic stuff in the south of Chile, a lot of myths and legends and natural healers like doctors, but they can cure your illness by looking and examining your urine, for example. And there's a lot of science, but hand to hand with nature, not with testing animals inside a laboratory, you know?
Yeah, I see what you mean. It is one of those things that will go down probably in history as one of the more horrific annals of humanity. I mean, surely we're not testing on humans in the West, but it's an interesting thing, by the way, too, that you're bringing up, is that somebody said this recently. I think it was on a very famous scientist on X. I can't remember the name of the individual, a Chinese scientist. And he said something to the effect of, and this was just yesterday or the day before, that ethics is holding science back. And which means what? Which means, chimeras, the man, bear, pig, right? This type of stuff we're always kind of joking about. But I got to wonder if this is being created somewhere in some, secret laboratory in China or whatever, right? And so, yeah, there are unethical things. And so there are barriers or boundaries we shouldn't cross. But what do those look like when you scale it? At scale, I mean, suddenly those things don't look like terrible things if they, let's say, for instance, solve cancer. And I'm not justifying being immoral. I'm saying that I get why he would say something like that. But still, we have to draw these lines because otherwise we become monsters. We become just like, the Operation Paperclip types that came out of Germany after World War II. It's horrific to think about, but they were doing this on people. And so, given the druthers of, people, scientists that have, then aren't so kind of locked into the ethical part of it, they would start experimenting on people without trials and without all the stuff. So I don't know, man. It's a weird place to be and a weird place to consider. But fire stuff. What do you think about the words as spells? Do you think this is something that's maybe built into us by default as part of this particular gene, and we can manifest reality by speaking it into existence? So how do you feel about that?
It's a good point. Do you remember when I told you that episode when I tell you, how are you, Michael? Or, how are you, Michael?
Yes, indeed.
That difference, I think, words, I think they work for social control in one part, because when you repeat a concept through a word and you repeat it in different media, people swallow it regardless their beliefs, because the the repetition is so abundant that it's like involuntary. People, oh, did you hear about this? Because it's in the news, and it's about the word. The word. It's always a word. And spells. Well, I'm not gonna tell you the story of the experience that I have with that because it's too long. But yes, I think there are words and there are hands positions, mudras, and body positions and choreography with your body to manifest or protect yourself. It's like, well, to summary the idea, when I'm in the street at night and I see some threats like bad guys, I do my symbols with my hands, and I feel protected.
Yeah.
So I don't need to speak, but I believe that I can build my protection because I believe in this higher power. So I connect myself with the higher power. Please protect me. I know you will protect me. I know nothing will happen to me. But when I was younger, I didn't know that, so I was very irresponsible. But when I learned this, I feel I'm not exposing myself, but I feel very relaxed when I see possible threats or when I see people that are infected and I can feel that they don't even know why they are picking a fight with me. So I ignore them or I just make the joke out of it. Anyway, I think the spell as a concept has the good missions, good objectives, and evil ones.
Oops, I muted myself. Yeah. Actually, like, so back to the intention and some of that stuff, sort of, I speak, therefore I am, this bit, the abracadabra bit of, the word itself is magic. And remember, a lot of the old ancient traditions, not just, let's say, Tolkien and fiction, they started with song. We talk about this a lot, or they say the primordial sound is like that, the Om of, the Tibetan monk chanting, things like that, or the what are those bowls, those singing bowls? Like, there's a lot of that type of thing that kind of goes back, that even before, let's say, humans could speak, they surely were like, banging sticks on rocks and stuff and making noise. So there's going to be a lot of that stuff kind of throughout history that makes you wonder about that resonant energy of the frequency of the sound itself, and then maybe us trying to replicate it. And I guess it says it traces back to about 640,000 years ago is when this actually hit us, the human species. I'm pretty sure that was the date. I was reading a ton of stuff trying to synthesize all the data like I do, but something like that. Yeah. So the genetic distinction is remarkably consistent across modern human populations, this particular speaking gene. Analysis of over 650,000 human genomes. Oh no, so human genomes, not time, my bad, has revealed that nearly all modern humans carry this variant, suggesting it underwent strong positive selection after emerging in an ancestral population of modern humans in Africa. Again, from the genetics that we know of and all the testing and things they've done. So I don't know, it's a weird thing. Clearly, you would rather have somebody who can communicate than somebody who cannot. And if you can do it in a different, more dynamic way, that is a positive selector for sure. Because then you're like the bard. You're telling the stories around the campfire and everybody's enthralled. Yeah. And even creating that magic, as you just kind of described. There's a lot here, isn't there?
I think when I studied Vaishnavism, when I was studying the Bhagavad Gita with the devotees of Krishna consciousness, it was they explained me that before the Vedas, the books of Hinduism, the information was how can I say this? The information was gathered by oral tradition, like they memorized the oral messages, so they didn't write anything further. After that, they start writing the books, the Vedas. So I think it's if you think about it, Michael, I think when science communicate to the whole world an achievement about for example, COVID, whatever. it's a business, because I think scientists, the evil scientists, are looking for patents. When you get a patent, you can make a lot of business. So different kinds of medicine they are not seeking for patents. They just make their work by healing people with sound, with other elements. But this science community, for me, is a race between them for who can get the best business through patents. So when you have a pandemic, you have a patent, so a whole country can buy this vaccine or that vaccine or that vaccine. At the end, it's a business. And it was sad for me here in Chile because people were getting the vaccines, but the health system didn't ask you, are you diabetic? Do you suffer from any heart condition? They just put the needle in. They didn't care about your organism and how it will respond to side effects. But the only country in the world that has their own vaccine is Cuba, because the genetic school of Cuba is, in my opinion, the best in the world. So they were the only country in the world that didn't have to buy anything. They built their own vaccine. So for me, it's like it's kind of a spell when I communicate that I have this patent for this threat, this illness that is coming, and I begin to seeding the fear among the people. Is kind of spell, and
that's
I believe
magic.
in other.
That's magic.
Yeah,
that's been studied. That's well documented. A social contagion of sorts, which means that you can kind of create this through any level of sort of broadcast, like we're doing. You know, like I said, I could be a doomer and just tell everybody it's the end is nigh, send me all your money, and just be an unscrupulous bastard. But look, I'm not. I'm trying to say, hey, look, I'm a glass half full type of guy. Let's look at this and consider what this might mean for the future. Is it good? Is it bad? What are the ethics of this? And will the mice actually be able to speak? that becomes the next question. Imagine if they put this in for instance, which we're talking about real quick, just to reframe if you guys are just joining us. Scientists put a human language gene into mice and curious things unfolded with higher pitched vocalizations, mature males actually sort of singing of sorts, sort of to females to kind of gain mates, right? This type of stuff. So it's weird. There's this strange thing that's happening as part of it. But as I was saying there, the social contagion bit is certainly very much in play. And I think you're very right. And it doesn't have anything to do, or it did, of course, but in particular, it doesn't have to do with COVID. It could do with everything else. Like I said, you could be the doomer anyway and say these things just like your very smart example, hey, Michael, how you doing? Or, hi, Michael, how you doing? It's like just the way you say these things, the way you say the words, there is magic in those words. And yeah, I think we're onto something here. But regarding the mice and putting this thing into them, what happens if you put this particular language gene, the human language gene, in like a chimpanzee? What do you think is going to happen then? And that becomes probably that ethics question that some of these, doctors are like, maybe we should be doing that type of stuff. And maybe they are, because that'd be terrifying. That's like Planet of the Apes, isn't it?
Oh, well, I think, in my opinion, they are searching for transhumanism, and they are going to start with animals. And in Santiago the other day was this guy walking a robot dog, and I was like, what is this? Okay, if you have a machine, a robot that clean the floor of your house, okay, but to walk a robot dog like a robot, and you have the leash and you are walking this robot, it's insane. I don't know. I think they're gonna start the testing of transhumanism in animals first. They're going to make like cyborg mice for a start.
Well said, and that's probably what's coming, right, as part of this. And I agree with you. Somebody walking a robot dog is ridiculous. However, a robot dog walking my dog, maybe that. I'm just saying. Make it a joke. Make it a joke. But I mean, clearly there's going to be utility in this type of stuff. But I think you may be right. Sort of the transhumanist future as part of this larger sort of putting the gene of this thing into that thing and kind of creating these hybrid chimeras. It would be, as we talked about recently too, with that weird computer with the actual neurons built into the chips, the silicon chips. Yeah. There's this weird merging of that space that you're right. They're probably going to put neural links and all kinds of weird stuff into the mice and all the things that they've been doing, the weird stuff. But then, like I've always said, when you talk about chimeras, the elephant in the room is, what about the chimpanzees? What about our closest actual animal kingdom relative that they're not doing this stuff on? Because I think there would be emergent properties that are so chilling, it would shut the entire thing off. They would have to be like, oh, hell no. When you put this language gene into a chimpanzee, for instance, and what if it starts talking? Like not like a parrot, not like sign language like Coco the gorilla, actual like picking up human speech and talking back to us. I mean, talk about terrifying, because then you can do that to all of them, and then it is Planet of the Apes. I don't know. It's a crazy thing, and that's the elephant in the room when it comes to that ethical science of doing this stuff that nobody's talking about the humanzee, as we talked about. We did a show on that, maybe a year or so ago. But how come that's not? We got Dolly the sheep cloned. How come we're not doing the other stuff? Because I think it's too close to home. It's too close to who we are as humans, and it will freak us out. And we don't want to know anything about that just yet. And I think that's what's happening. But so there's sort of a press moratorium on it. In my opinion, I don't have evidence to suggest that's true, other than I do recognize these news cycles don't report on things like that because it would creep us out. They go for sensational stuff like the mice and the human language gene and stuff.
Exactly.
But I think they are doing these things, and it's sort of like it's buried intentionally because it's probably illegal if we're being true and real, if we're mixing humans and monkeys at this point. But I don't know. And that becomes the real question. Where do you think this heads in the next 5 to 10 years? You think we'll have the secret of him and talking mice?
It's crazy because I was looking this website. I'm gonna post it in the Discord chat. It's a website that is called NanoPass, and it's the first interim. It's like under the skin injection for monitoring your body, and that can prevent that can identify like cancer cells or whatever for autism also. But they are putting nanotechnology under your skin for healthcare. I think that's the narrative, but I think it has other purposes. And to finish my idea, I think ethics, like you're saying, it will be the issue, but human history have shown that some people that are not agree with destroy some ethics, they will be forced to, or they will be eliminated in terms of we'll kick you out because you're not good for our business. At the end, if you own this gene, and if you own this system to accomplish this science of gold, if you are part of the science community and you're not agree with the ethics, they will kick you out. Simple as that. It happened before, and it will happen again. And I think they are with this NanoPass. Check the website, because for me it's very creepy that they're saying this for healthcare, but the technology is really insane.
Agreed. And what kind of chimeras come next? I think the chimps and whatnot are going to be, like I said, so terrifying. We're probably trying to skip that, in my opinion, and go to robots, because the second we start having Planet of the Apes and the chimpanzees are like, the cab driver now. I mean, roll up and they're like, I mean, I'm sure there's movies that have kind of done this and made cartoon jokes out of these things. And the chimp pulls up. He's like, "Hey, get in! Come on! We gotta go! You're gonna be late."
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell is this?
In that movie, one of the apes movie, I always enjoyed the scene when this monkey began to play with these guards. It's like, making gestures and asking for food, and then he take the gun.
Exactly, right?
So I think it's, yeah, and well, if you ask me, I think they're gonna test in primates, of course, and why not in the evil path to have soldiers? That's what I think.
The Star Wars, the Clone Wars. You're the best, brother. Appreciate you very much. Thanks for listening. Thanks for calling. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Michael.
Please go give Kramos a follow. Link's going to be in the description down below. troubledminds.org/friends. It says follow Kramos, just its alphabetical order. Scroll down a little bit. It's under C. You know the alphabet. Go give him a follow on his YouTube channel. Great ideas, and he's doing great work over there as well. Love to hear your thoughts. We're talking speech as sorcery, the science behind ancient incantations, and what about these talking mice? Be right back. We got Squigs coming up and your calls as well. Don't go anywhere.
In a cryogenic slumber, lost in the lunar night, your face a faded number among the stars so bright. Dreams of forgotten echoes, waiting for time's command. Curtains of gray and sorrow, the lonely lunar sand. Below the moonlit sky, of the love we tried, silent by your ancient souls reside, suspended in a story, kept in the cold dark tide. Our futures in the making, silver-edged domain, hearts kept in silent aching, till we meet once again. We are awakened below the moonlit sky, to the fragments of the love we tried. Frozen time we're resting, waiting for dawn's embrace. Whispers of love confessing in this forgotten place. We are awakened below the moonlit sky, to the fragments of the love we tried. With the morning glow, and the light will come to know. We are awakened below the moonlit sky, to the fragments of the love we tried. In the depths of lunar silence, our destinies intertwine. Memories kept so vibrant in the vacuum deep in mine. The tale of cosmic yearning across the astral sea, and the fires of hope still burning for when we finally breathe free.
Indeed. What's up, guys? Yes, that is AI music, and sometimes it's pretty good. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's really crappy, but like I said, that uncanny valley is upon us now. I hope you guys are doing well. What's up, Squigs? Jeremiah's here. What's up, Michael W? Sweets, Daryl, Dawn, Jeff and Wisco, APOC. What's up, Bailey? Matt Sal, Joey, Don't Panic. We got Gaston and Kramos. Great call, Kramos. Appreciate you very much. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of things in play here, and that's why we talk about this stuff. Over to Rumble. What's up, YY? North Vixen. What's up, Hikers here? Ephemerance. I see you guys. Yeah, I started a little late, so sorry about that. It happens. What's up? Hey, but we started right on the button, right on time for radio time. But I mean, just I didn't get a chance to come say hi. Squigs is here. We'll talk to him momentarily. If I missed anybody, just say hi and I'll say hi back. I appreciate you guys hanging out and listening and caring about the ideas. Puff is here. Good evening. Who did I miss on YouTube? There's some folks on YouTube. Some great names. What's up? We got Scubs here, Scrub Rats. We got Shane, Lucid Dreaming, the Blind Psychonaut. Ioxy. What's up? Celia's here. Good evening. Dental Misorder. What a name. I love it. Hey, good evening. Thanks for hanging out with us. Who else was here? There was somebody else who was here that was a new name to me. Good evening. MJ, good evening. What's going on, guys? If I missed you, just say hi. I'll say hi back. Try to do my best and keep up. And still do shout outs and then trim it out. And then it's like it never happened. It's like I'm the aloof talk show host that doesn't care who's listening. But I see you there. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being part of this. Here we go. Troubled Minds coming up in 10 seconds. We got Squigs coming up and your calls as well. Here we go. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, DLive, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting, and also 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. That is terrestrial radio down there in New Zealand. Shout out to our drive time friends listening to wild things as you drive home. Hope you're well. We're talking speech as sorcery tonight, the science behind ancient incantations. Now, is it possible that I think, therefore I am, is also I speak, therefore I am? Meaning, if we go back to where we started tonight, this wild idea of these scientists putting, a human language gene into mice. And then curious things started happening. And this particular gene, again, is called, what's it called? Let me read this real fast. It's called Nova-1. And the human version of this across the entire mammal kingdom is different by one molecule. And it's what allows us to speak. Now, they put this into mice. And they kind of started vocalizing differently to each other, the ones that actually had this gene, which is incredible to think. But then also, not just sort of the babies communicating to their mothers, the mice pups, but also mature males were singing, kind of. And again, that's a little artistic license there, but they were vocalizing in novel ways that mice typically don't. Now, I'm not saying it's a secretive name and they're speaking just yet. But I do wonder if you put this type of thing into a, like I was saying before we took the break there with Kramos, great call, Kramos, appreciate that. What about the chimpanzees? I mean, will they just start straight up talking? Be like, yeah, picking up human language and stuff? I mean, there's been some experiments in, humans growing up with chimpanzees and stuff and then becoming, incredibly smart and very human-like. And I don't know. I think it's too close to home. It takes us into that uncanny valley of, well, an ethical conundrum. Let's just call it that. And what does it look like? I don't know. I mean, does now the chimp go to school and get a social security number and, have to get a job and pay taxes, get some health care? You know what I'm saying? Like suddenly it becomes this really interesting conversation that not only that, it's going to turn into the same conversation with robots. Because we're going to treat them as some sort of like subservient slave class. And there's going to be, the empathy aspect to it. And imagine when a robot can kind of make human sounds and even sound like it's suffering or needs a break. What's this going to look like? The next 5 to 10 years is going to be wild. What do you think about this? What about this language gene and how wild does it get? Is speaking itself magic? 702-957-1037. That's the phone number to call tonight if you want to be part of the conversation. Or you can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org and hop on in here, put your hand up. We'll put you on the show just like this. Let's go to Squigs in Australia. What's up, brother? How you doing tonight? Welcome to the joint and go right ahead, sir.
Going good, mate. Thanks for having me back on. You can hear me all right, yeah?
Yep, loud and clear. You sound great and welcome back. Glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm glad you got your phone line sorted too. I've got a bunch of ideas bouncing around in my head. I'll try and flush out a couple. So with regards to speech and sorcery, what's the title of the thing? Speech as sorcery. So I just quickly looked up the definition of sorcery. So the application of beliefs, rituals, or actions employed to manipulate natural or supernatural beings. So a couple of words stood out for me. So actions to manipulate the natural realm. And I'll tie this into the mouse experiment with the DNA. So speech it's a form of energy or vibration, but it's an action that we employ to carry meaning. And I'll just touch on that V for Vendetta quote I dropped on the Discord, which was, words will always retain their power. Words offer the means to meaning. So the ability to have meaning is given by words. So they're a form of vibrational energy that has a function. And the way I'm going to tie it in with the mouse experiment is there's recent science and legal debate as to whether or not DNA is speech. There was one just a couple of weeks ago where a court case came up in America where there was a fight between a couple and they wanted to lay a claim of ownership onto the genetics that they'd put in, you know, when you freeze your egg and stuff after a divorce. And the court came back and said, we can't, that life itself, or the blueprint of life being DNA, cannot be seen as property. And I would argue yet. And I think that we're moving into a realm where DNA, which if you think of DNA as condensed speech, so it's really compact because it has a blueprint for the entire organism that it expresses these words, they're all connected. So think of DNA as a really, really, really condensed form of speech that when expressed gives you the life form. I'll let you, sorry, go ahead.
No, just real quick. I love that idea. And there's another thing too. I don't know if they have it abroad, but there's this whole argument about, you know, corporations as people and money as speech when it comes to campaign donations and politics and stuff like this. So is money speech? And so I don't know. I think you're onto something here, because absolutely, how do you own that? How do you own the potentiality of an as yet unformed organism that could be, limitless potentialities? I think you're definitely onto something here. Fire stuff. Keep going, right? All yours, my man.
Yeah, so I think that, you know, as we start experimenting with these mice and other, you know, we'll get onto the primates eventually once we get rid of that. Back to your scientist you mentioned at the beginning, I pulled him up, and he's controversial because he was doing experiments on on twins in China, if it's a guy that I thought you were thinking of. And he got roused on anyone that, you know, it's been happening in Russia for 4 decades. But at the moment, society frowns upon the tinkering with these genetics, these DNAs, this condensed speech, because it's divine, it's given to us by God. But I think we're moving, for whatever reason, good or bad, away from that. So I'll just try and finish my thought. So if speech is condensed, and its most condensed form is DNA, so when you take this gene of speech and you put it in a mouse, it makes sense that it will begin expressing speech like the fractal will expand. So you're extracting out from the really, really condensed genetic speech, the DNA, and then suddenly the monkey or the mouse is making speech in the physical world. So, and I think it's all, and I'll kind of finish it all off with Nikola Tesla and his famous quote of, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe or find the secrets, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So I would argue that everything is speech. So stars are speech, planets are speech, genetics are speech, and the vocalization in the physical realm is speech. And so it's all speech because it's all energy, frequency, and vibration, whether it's the atom is expressed as a solid or a wave. So literally everything is speech. So it makes sense to me that the building blocks or the DNA is just a really, really condensed version of that. And another idea that came up in the beginning was we call the Bible the source of truth, right? It is the source. It is the true book, right? It's words. It's energy, frequency, and vibration conformed, used through speech and put into words. So I just think it's a super interesting topic. And just on the sorcery, and then I'll round it up. So if sorcery is an action employed to manipulate, well, words themselves are sorcery. So it's kind of like it's a little bit of a, you know, can words be used in sorcery? Well, words themselves are sorcery. And I was thinking when you first started that something that is called the confusion of tongues or the confounding of tongues, it's referred to in Genesis in the Bible, but it's basically the story of when Babel was overthrown. That the myth says that, whether it's true or not, says that God confused our tongues and that we had a single speech, right? A single vibration or a single shared speech before that. So in a way, what I'm trying to say is that you can also use sorcery by reducing speech. It doesn't have to be used. Speech is sorcery, but the confounding or confusion of tongues is also a form of sorcery, but it's using a physical, when you wipe out an indigenous tribe or something and take away their language, you're using the spear, the truncheon, to reduce the sorcery potential of that language. So I think it's all connected. It's a fascinating topic. I'm rambling on.
No, you're not. You're fantastic. You're bang on, man. Fire stuff. And so the whole point of that is that if DNA, as you're describing, eventually is speech and everything is speech, how does that become a regulated thing? Because you know how we like to put limits on these sorts of things, and especially when it turns into this transhumanist future and maybe talking mice. And of course, I'm extrapolating. It's probably not possible, human vocal cords and all the rest of that stuff. But if they're kind of coming up with novel ways with this particular gene that they put in these mice, then suddenly, given, I don't know, like another million years of evolution, maybe they're legit talking to each other like we talk to each other. Like you got the broadcast mice doing a radio show. You know what I'm saying? Like how ridiculous does this actually get? You think this is something that will scale into animals talking like the days of yore, like the old folklore and mythologies, where I've got a whole list. I'll read some of them in a minute here, but we're talking to animals or satyrs or fawns or whatever. I mean, does that sound ridiculous to suggest?
I think it's inevitable because if DNA is speech, and you put DNA in a mouse that makes it speak, it's inevitable. It's a super. Think of it as like the not the hard drive, or as the computer program inside the computer. So I think it's inevitable. And everyone knows the ancient astronaut theories, and Stitchin and the others have written about Anunnaki and these ancient animals coming down and genetically manipulating humans for the mining of gold. So it's a fairly wide-held belief that for some that we are simply just upgraded homonyms. And again, to tie it back to our creator, for those that are in that realm, the first word in the beginning was the word, and we're created in the image of God. So if it's all connected. So if DNA is condensed speech and the first thing that came was word, and we're creating his image, well, then we just have his genetics, and we can use the God-given talents that we have to put that same language via DNA into anything we like. And I think that's inevitable. Talking mice and stuff like that. It's just a matter of time.
Which seems absurd. It seems absurd. And let's say it's sooner than we think. Let's say they can sort of press the quickening, as I'm always talking about. And like in a decade, we've got the transhumanist bit. We've got literally walking and talking robots. We got Johnny Cab from, we're on Mars. I mean, thinking of the next 20 years and the way this is kind of shaping up, is it terrifying or is it exhilarating or is it both? Really becomes the real question here.
I'm scared of cats learning to speak, and I think insects will be used in warfare initially, where they'll teach them how to speak and crawl in your ear and basically give you the enemy's propaganda while you're sleeping.
Yeah, exactly. Which is where this is, of course, going to head. I mean, as usual, control mechanisms are king in everything, in who we are, who we've become, how we communicate with each other, what we can and can't do or say, this type of stuff. I talk about this all the time because it's paramount to me, because I have a problem with authority. So you get me, you know what I mean? So I don't like being told what to do or what to think or any of that stuff. And so in that capacity, I do wonder what this looks like. Is it going to be, free speech for people, but not free speech for, the mice when they start to speak for themselves? You know what I mean? This is where we're headed. This weird world in a legal sense of not just ethics, but how we enforce that. And are we back to, the animals in Narnia were sort of an underrepresented class or something, the talking animals? I mean, the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, here we come. Strap in, because it's about to get super weird. And then when you combine all the ideas together, like I said, that quickening, the singularity turns into, as you said, inevitable in a lot of ways. And so I don't know, man. I'm not sure how I feel about this, but certainly the science suggests that all this stuff might be coming. If you got anything on that, go ahead. I got another question for you otherwise.
Well, yeah, just the last thing, back to the V for Vendetta quote, which I found interesting, is the word truncheon, which Tolkien used as well, but the truncheon is the baton. So while the truncheon may be used in lieu of conversation, so you can use force, you can control people with force, but the quote hints that words will always retain their power, which is back to what you were saying at the beginning about this concept of the word om and the vibration of words also having their own power. But yeah, I just think it's completely fascinating. I'm kind of run out of, go ahead with your question, because I'm a bit scrambled at the moment after work.
Yeah, I mean, you and me both. That's exactly the point. I come home and I'm like frazzled as part of this. What was the question? It was a really good question that I've now forgotten. It'll come to me. Hold on just 1 second. Or have I entirely lost it? I don't know. Maybe I've entirely lost it. There's a larger point here with abracadabra, I think. It may come back to me anyway. Yeah, I think we're onto something. Not just again conceptually, as you said, inevitable really becomes what this looks like in the future, and that's why, as I always say, you got to be careful with what this does become, because the rights of individuals is slippery once you start to fraction off what individuals mean. And talking mice, once again, they don't have a ton of rights right now. But imagine when they're picketing with signs and like screaming in terror that they're going to be. I mean, I laugh. It's not funny, but it's funny, not funny. Anyway, fire stuff. I appreciate the call.
I've got something to bounce off that real quick if I've got time.
We got plenty of time. Go ahead.
I think we're just super worried. Like, I hear a lot of people talk about what's going to be like, what threats we're going to be like if we give mice speech or anything like that. I think it just comes down to this game theory / fitness function that's often spoken about in the holographic universe idea, is that we just want to survive. So we're worried about giving our gifts, the God-given gifts that we were given, speech and etc., to mice, monkeys, to whatever, because we just want to survive. So I think it's as simple as that. So and I think that we will lose that over time as we become more technologically advanced, as we become stronger in our less fearful of death, etc. We'll be more willing to share God's gifts with the rest of the realm, if that makes any sense. So right now, everyone's like, "Oh no, we shouldn't genetically modify anything. We shouldn't." But if genetics is speech, well, we are if we're the image of God, we are speech. So I think that it's kind of selfish in a way, and it comes back to wanting to survive, that we are going to be careful or perhaps overcautious. But give enough time and enough comfortability, we'll give speech to trees. It'll be fun.
Hell yeah. The Tolkien comes up again with the Entmoot, and it's talking to the trees, the ancient trees of the forest. That would be a wild time. And you're right. I think it all is coming in terms of that communication aspect. It's like a superhighway. We talk about the internet as being, this fantastic thing for modern times, and it is. But the larger context of this means that we might be able to communicate with anything and everything. And regarding the gene too, real quick, this is a question I wanted to ask you actually, because it's an alien, the alien aspect. Okay. Like I said, I got the alien on the hat and all the stuff, like the alien in the logo, but as you know, I rarely talk about aliens, and that was Prometheus too, by the way. But who you're talking about, sort of the God giving the fire to people. We're reluctant to do it to our subclasses, how we perceive animals as less than human, because they're not human. And so we do want to preserve ourselves because we don't want competition in that space. But the alien thing, so again, we're talking about this language gene that has one molecule off from the rest of the mammal kingdom, which makes us conceptually able to speak, able to do this, what we're doing right now. Do you think, like in an alien context, what does that mean if, let's say there's two things slightly off? Does that literally become telepathy? You think that's built into conscious beings, that's where we'll head with maybe a future evolutionary aspect here?
Yeah, well, I think, 100%. So if words are frequency and vibration and speech is that, then there has to be other forms of speech that are outside the ear and the mouth, right? So that would be what we call telekinesis, or how plants communicate with clicking with their roots. So I think that speech probably exists in all manner of densities and all manner of what do we call them, dimensions. But we're only able to speak and hear in this dimension. So aliens are probably interdimensional, etc. So I think that speech probably exists in the whole spectrum. And we are just really worried about giving our little gift within our own little spectrum. But if there are aliens out there, they probably have language in all different forms that we couldn't hear, kind of like, above 80,000 or below 20, you can't hear. So, and lastly, I think that we're limited by language, and anyone that's ever done a really powerful psychedelic like DMT, you'll come back and you don't have words there is no language to express what you're experiencing. So I think that we have this really, really, really tiny technological voice and ear communication system that we're aware of. We think we're the king of the universe, etc. But there's probably a huge spectrum, like the light spectrum, and we only have access to a tiny, tiny little bit. And even that tiny bit we have access to is highly limited to the structure of our words and the sounds we can create. So, yeah, I think aliens probably talk in what we call telepathy, but it's just a different frequency and vibration. And their brains would have an inner ear, like the pineal gland, and they would hear just like we hear, but we can't hear it. And it seems like it's magical mystery through the Ethernet when it's just them talking.
Yeah, like a tuning fork outside of the human hearing. And that's why this stuff's fascinating to consider, because we don't really know. We don't know what that looks like, and we're about to find out, which is again exhilarating, terrifying, all of the above. Strap in, brother, because the quickening is upon us, and maybe the mice will be talking to us very soon. Appreciate the call. You are the best. Thanks for listening. Thanks for popping in here, and you are never rambling. You are always fire. Appreciate you very much.
Thanks. Peace out.
Have a great one. That's Squigs. You know me, love him. Come say hi. Come meet the man. Discord, troubleminds.org. Click the Discord link. He's active there. The Rumble chat, if you haven't joined Rumble over there, he's also active over there. Come talk to these folks. You see how we've built this space that just attracts these amazingly smart people. And yeah, he's right. He's right about all that stuff, in my opinion. And that's why, sort of with this changing space as it kind of chugs forward, quickly. I mean, I say chug is sort of a, kind of a slow, like the trains chugging down the track type of thing. But no. Like this is like the high speed rail of California that they actually built. Like this is the type of stuff, right? Take the dig, California. That's where I'm from, so I can dig California. But you get what I mean. There's a lot of things in play here. So back to where we started, of course. Now the speech as sorcery. Like I said, I've recognized it a long time ago personally, just by listening to people. Because as you know, as you've recognized, I'm a fan of radio. I'm a fan of long form conversations that typically don't get as much attention as they deserve. Okay. Which leads us to this weird space that Troubled Minds has become. Weird/amazing space. Because this is not stuff you talk about around the water cooler, because if you do, right, you're going to get fired. They're like, that's enough robot talk, Mike, get out of here, right? Like this type of stuff. But soon, all of these ideas that we've been talking about for years on this show together, kind of bouncing ideas off of each other, this is going to come to fruition, and it's all closer than people ever dreamed. You think that the sci-fi future is 100 years away or whatever. I'm not so sure. I guess they call them dark factories. You guys seen this? I'll see if I can pull up the link I saw this in. It may be propaganda or whatever, but they're talking about dark factories in China and other places, by the way. It's not just China, not to crap on China, but where they have actual robots building robots now, like completely automated. Nobody is really watching other than like on cameras just to make sure nothing breaks or catches fire. But yeah, I mean, this is the type of thing. This is what at scale looks like. So intelligence at scale, and then the industrial capacity to build these entities. I'm telling you, it's coming, and it's going to be weird. It's going to be incredibly weird. And once again, what does it look like? And that's why we talk about these ideas together, because there's going to be things I miss. There's going to be things you miss, but a collective comes together and talks about these things. And again, once you merge all of that with the transhumanist future of this, and again, the chimeras, the man, bear, pig, we're always making fun of sort of conceptually, but it's a horrifying thing to consider. I mean, remember the guy that had the pig kidney human DNA thing built, and they transplanted it into the guy, and everything was cool. And then he, 30 days later, he got sick and died. I mean, this is the future. And for better or worse, we're going to have to deal with it as whoever we are, however we see the world. And when change comes that quickly, I think we're all in for a pretty rough time. And so it's a good moment to be a troubled mind, because I'm telling you what, if you're not troubled, and that doesn't mean, again, broken. It doesn't mean paranoid. It only means that these things happening make you ponder, make you wonder. Welcome to it. Appreciate the call. Squigs, you're amazing. Thank you, Kramos, as well, for the call. We got Daryl coming up in New York and your calls as well. What do you know about it? It's a weird thing, right? Not only speech as sorcery, but in the larger context, once we merge man and machine, how do we define anything anymore? This becomes the singularity itself. What do you know about it? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. We got Daryl in New York coming up and your calls as well. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds on the way.
Jungle, machines hum, the digital rumble. Gates of cyber open wide, plug us into cosmic tide. Feeling sparks across the sky. As knowledge flies, we're amplified. Stargate, 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 open to the in this massive data center dome, eternal truth stop to roam. Circuits flicker with endless fire, data streams that never tire. Unified by electric dreams, unlock the truth in silver beams. Stargate, 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 open to the arcane fate. Synthesize what we seek and find. Infinite paths in the network mind. Answers buzz from star to core. Knowledge whispers evermore. Stargate, 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 open to the arcane fate. In realms where the data streams collide, imagination and logic side by side. In a labyrinth of digital maze, we transcend our earthly ways. Tapping keys like cosmic tones, spikes become our whispered homes. Stargate, 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 open to the arcane fate.
Indeed. An AI song that actually ended properly. That's amazing. What's up, guys? Daryl, New York coming up next. We got Jeremiah. What's up? Michael W. Sweets, Squigs, fantastic call. You're the best, brother. What's up, Bailey? Welcome back. How are you? Always nice to see you. Gaston. We got Joey, Don't Panic. Dawn, Jeff and Wisco, APOC, and Karemos. Fantastic call as well. Yeah, we like I said, we have a weird way of just accumulating smart friends. It's I don't know. It's a blessing, and I'm grateful for each and every one of you, not just in the chat, but on all the calls and all the help with this show. I appreciate it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this. So thank you for bringing me back night after night. Who'd I miss? Kafurlo, how you doing? We got Squigs over on Rumble. Again, fantastic call. YY's here. Who'd I miss? If I missed you, just say hi. I'll say hi back. Doing my best to keep up in all the places, all the things. What's up, Race, Bailey, Scrub Rats? We got Ioxy. How you doing? White Like. What's going on, guys? Like the Ghost. Good evening. Good evening. Bailey adds that the translation word comes from a word with a meaning closer to a thought. which is kind of that magic, right? The magic space. And also, Bailey also adds this, which is awesome and hilarious. Isn't that what all those sci-fi movies warned us about? Yeah. All right, here we go. Trouble Minds coming up right now. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, DLive, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting, and of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're talking gene mutations, ancient incantations, and could a single gene mutation truly bridge the gap between animal sounds and human language? If you go back to antiquity and folklore and mythology, there's plenty of tales of talking animals, not just sort of in the god space, the demigods or whatnot of the different pantheons the world over, but also maybe, what would you call them, emergent properties of regular animals and sort of these tales, Aesop's or whatever. I got a list. Like I said, I'll read a few of these in just a second here, but I'd love to hear what you think on this, because we're talking these mice, okay? Scientists put a human language gene into mice and curious things unfolded. And I'm going to read this. This is incredibly important, that not only does the entire mammal kingdom not have this particular language gene that we have, the mammal kingdom, our most recent sort of ancestors before us don't have it either. Listen to this. So the Nova1 gene exists across many species, but contains a critical difference in humans. This gene codes for a protein involved in neural functions, and the human variant differs by just a single amino acid substitution. This minuscule change appears to influence a cascade of genes related to vocalization capabilities. Weird, right? What makes this discovery particularly compelling is its evolutionary timing. The human Nova1 variant likely emerged in early modern humans in Africa. Notably, and this is my point in reading this, our evolutionary cousins, Neanderthals and Denisovans, lacked this special variant, suggesting it might have provided Homo sapiens with the unique advantage in communication abilities. And of course, magic and cooperation and manifesting. And as usual, the question really remains, is speech sorcery? Or, to bake it down to a more basic term, magic. Love to hear your thoughts. Phone lines are open, 702-957-1037. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this. Daryl in New York, thanks for being patient. How are you tonight? Welcome to the joint. Go right ahead.
Hey, Michael, great show, great conversation. I think it's a wonderful conversation. Thank you. That, first of all, we consider prehistory is when pre-written word. So when did the written word start? When we started to speak? As soon as we, how long were we writing, actually? Like, we wrote on clay tablets, like, there was all kinds of ways to communicate in writing. Even the Nazca lines was a certain way of writing, maybe directions, So I'm sure that was a way of speaking. Those people were speaking. So I'm just saying, like, we consider, like, prehistoric was before we were able to write, not before we were able to speak necessarily. But I'm assuming, how soon after you start to speak would you start to write? Also, there's a lot of ways to communicate without speaking. Just a vibe, etc. A glance across the room, a sexy look, a very menacing look, You just get a vibe without talking, You don't have to talk to understand. And I was just looking up something because I had read it. Of course, you read something or you hear a podcast, and then, of course, you can't find it again in the terms that you were looking for.
Of course not.
Weren't you, I don't know if it was like something you were sharing one night, and I found an article via one of the articles you were sharing about how it was illegal to talk to dolphins, apparently because we were training them during, like, World War II to do some nefarious things with the enemy underwater. Who knows what we were doing? And as soon as we realized that we were really communicating with them, it became illegal to communicate with dolphins. And now you just see that because it's an animal rights movement, has nothing to do with what happened during the war or any research that was, maybe, to have them do something, to weaponize them, of course,
Yeah, which is what we always do. Always, yep.
Yeah, right. So, and of course, I can't find anything about that kind of thing. That we can't talk to dolphins because dolphins are so smart. Their brains are bigger than ours, And what about one other thing I was going to mention? Remember the thing with the 10 monkeys? Like if you teach a monkey on one island to wash their potatoes with salt, they'll automatically, somehow, without even, being next to the other monkeys on another continent, those monkeys will start to wash their potatoes with salt, You know that story, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's a weird one, and it suggests, once again, sort of a larger entanglement. We talk about the noosphere, which is the world, but full of human ideas and human things. But clearly there's a mechanism happening that is in the animal kingdom as well. And I do wonder how much that sort of crisscrosses and how much we pick up from them or vice versa, because who really knows? This is the type of stuff, again, Rupert Sheldrake talked about this type of thing a lot. There's a lot of things as yet unquantified that are still spooky in this world, the fringe, as we like to call it. And so that becomes why we talk about these things. And what does it mean? Because it feels like we do have a sixth sense, or several of them, and we're sharing it in some ways, but also sort of trying to not recognize it. It's still one of those things that's really frowned upon in scientific communities, and it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate that, parapsychology, whatever. I mean, okay, right. Rename it, like retake the message and name it something else, because I don't know, fringe philosophy or whatever. It's just silly, all the stigma because of outside of academic circles and these things. But I digress on that. Right. It's a wild thing. What about these mice now? Do you think that would it shock you to have like talking mice in like 5 years? Like, how ridiculous is that?
I was thinking, what if, they probably use mice because they can destroy them pretty quickly without it, having any repercussions or, consequences. But what if they're like the 10 monkeys and you teach the mice in the laboratory how to speak and suddenly they're speaking all over the world, What would that be like? And it'll be like a racket. And what if they teach the rats how to speak and they outnumber us? They could like do something catastrophic by, just all speaking at the same time and, do some vibration and create earthquakes or something like that. You know what I mean? Well, who knows? I'm just speculating, but, what if they all, it would be maddening if a species that really outnumbers us could speak louder than us.
Yeah, well, there's more of them. No taking shots at New York intentionally here, but there's a lot of rats in New York. What if they all started talking? It is The Secret of Nim. Have you ever seen that movie, The Secret of Nim?
No.
It's actually very good. I just saw it recently again. It was from a long time ago. It's like a fantastic animated little rat mouse adventure with the talking animals. Again, one of those old ideas, talking animals sort of remanifesting. But I watched it recently with my wife, and it was I was like, damn, this is way better than I thought it was. Like, when I was a kid, I was like, all right, yeah, this is fine. But now I watch it and I'm like, wow, holy crap, they're locked into some things. And maybe even being a prophet for what comes next. Talking rats and mice and animals. Oh my God. Right. Go ahead. What else you got?
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. It would be great to talk to your animals, that they could say, hey, you know what? I think I have to go to the doctor. It hurts when I pee, and you could avoid like them having some major surgery or even dying, But there are people that talk to animals. Like there was this girl, Elizabeth Anglin, that used to speak on a show that I used to listen to. And she was like a real dog whisperer. And she could tell, their dog owners what's wrong with their dogs, because they talk to her. So you got to wonder, like, if it's telepathic or what people have the certain talent of communicating with animals in a way. I just don't understand how they do it. And, are they speaking English, or they're just telepathically communicating like instantly? It's an instant communication. I mean, it's not easy for us to conceive, and maybe we were capable of that at one point, and it got too like there were no secrets, so we had to dumb us down with a genetic modification. And who knows right now, we're going to be genetically modified again one more time or 3 more times. And soon we won't be able to actually have, children normally,
Rat children.
I've heard. What?
Rat children. What if they start doing it the other way? They put the rat serum in the water, and suddenly we're showering in rat serum. And if it can go one way, it can go the other way, can't it?
Sure. I mean, what could possibly go wrong with? They're going to try to weaponize anything that has potential. And I think, messing around with DNA and Mother Nature could have some pretty dramatic consequences. Imagine if we started having cows that talked, and bigger animals than us, and moose and bears. What if it just goes awry, and once you get one species of animal to talk, suddenly everybody's talking. And you can't get a word in edgewise. You go to the forest and it's like, oh, forget it.
Even the lions and tigers and bears have a big mouth like me. Whoa, the world would be a crazy place.
And crazy personalities and moods and stuff like that. And yeah, well, at least they can say, you better watch it, we're hungry, So I don't know. What else was I going to tell you? Oh, I had a long joke, but I don't think I'll tell it. But I do have 2 small ones. Did you know why Mickey Mouse fainted?
No, I hadn't heard that one.
A Disney spell. Thank you.
Bingo.
And what do you call a mouse that swears?
Not sure.
A cursor. Okay, that's about it.
That's all. You're the best. You are the best.
That's all.
100%. Appreciate you very much. Fantastic call.
Okay. Got it.
I was just going to gush about you and tell everybody about your YouTube channel and go follow you and all the rest of this stuff. Please go follow Daryl. Again, links are going to be in the description, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down just a little bit because, of course, it's alphabetical order. And it says Daryl. Go check out her YouTube channel. She's very talented, very funny. And, of course, the cosmic comic of Troubled Minds and the official cosmic comic. And, by the way, very talented, sings in English and French. And you can find her sometimes doing karaoke on the Discord. So come hang out with her and her amazing friends that are very talented as well. I've spent some time over there listening, and I'm impressed. There's a lot of really talented folks just kind of hanging out and singing. And the cool thing about it is you're welcome to sing. You're welcome to come hang out and sing with them or just listen or whatever. So if you haven't joined the Discord yet, now's the perfect time. troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. It's a chat client, a voice client. It's completely free. And if you're weird about technology, don't worry. There's a lot of people in there that are very nice. That's the rules. You have to be nice when you get in there. There's no, I know everything and you know nothing. You start to do that, you're out of there. But if you just kind of commingle and learn from people and chill and be cool, you'll make a lot of great friends. And Daryl, again, chief among them, and fantastic stuff. Appreciate you very much. Please go give her a follow. Come say hi on the Discord. And you were amazing. Fantastic call as always. Well, one more time, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down a little bit. Follow Daryl here. Simple as that. Thanks for the call. We're talking, again, this weird stuff, right? Speech as sorcery. It's an old idea, not just for us, but it goes all the way back to many sort of mythological treatments of this, or folklore or whatever, even fiction, right? J.R.R. Tolkien with his, in the beginning, there was a harmony. And then the Discord came, not the actual program, but the Discord was from Melkor, was sort of the discordant aspect of it to sort of break the harmony of the creator gods, of course, because there has to be disharmony, right? As usual, the duality of that creation, at least sonically. But anyway, I digress a little bit. If you want to be a part of the conversation, love to hear what you think about this. We're talking these mice. Again, the headline, scientists put a human language gene into mice and curious things unfolded. And they started vocalizing differently, not like standard mice, not your test sample, the sample. What is it called? It'll come to me in a second. But the regular mice were doing regular mice stuff. But then you put this gene in them and they started vocalizing differently. Now, what is that? It's bizarre. You tell me. Love to hear your thoughts on how weird does this get and how soon do we have talking mice among us? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this to the phone line. Kelly in Colorado. What's up, brother? How you doing tonight? Welcome to The Joint and go right ahead.
Good evening, Michael. How you doing?
Pretty good. Thanks for asking. I hope you're well as well. What's on your mind?
I just want to talk about the old Nova 1 gene.
Absolutely. Let's hear what you got.
So after listening to a couple of people on here, because I was going to go with the kind of same direction where, you already said we're like, the building block, it sweeps, all it does is like swapping out one amino acid for another, right? And then you got speech or human type speech or going into a building block that direction. Right. So, just like the other caller, I can't remember his name. I didn't catch his name when I logged on, but talking about so like if we go back to Sumerian stuff like that, he kind of mentioned that real quick, just we going back into those tablets, right? And what these tablets said about creation of man, stuff like that. They had a few times where they manipulated man, where they had to, they wanted to have a worker that would stand upright, more or less. I would say stand upright because there was some other changes where like speech, hearing, and stuff like that, where they wanted to manipulate and change. And one of them was a speech, right? So, and if it was that, because something like that is where, you kind of look down that, I look down that rabbit hole is because it almost matches up with like the Sumerian stories, right? Anunnaki stories like that. When science comes out and says that we're the only species that has this, right? Besides any other primate or anything. It's kind of like they had different changes, kind of like the second strand of DNA where they capped the telomeres, shortened our lifespan to 120, right? Stuff like that. You don't find that in other species. There's different stuff like that, and the only way you're doing that is if you're going down into DNA and doing stuff like that. That's some high technology right there if you're doing some stuff like that. So for me, though, I'm looking at it as, okay, so there's a lot of animals, right? They're trying to get speech. Maybe they want to know what these animals are talking like, but maybe it's we're in the wrong, right? Maybe it's opposite for us. Maybe at one time we could talk to animals, right? We could talk with the plants, the birds, everything on the planet. And then once we were given this marker, this amino acid to give us speech, it changed us, right? And people think it was better for speech and stuff. And you can think about that like through magic or what, stuff like that, or even what, because that's talked in like some of the ancient writings where speech was, man, you can only, it was only learned by, a man could speak. But maybe at one time, we can only, our voice box can only make certain frequencies. Maybe it was a downgrade instead of an upgrade, you know what I'm saying? So what I look at is like maybe we had the ability at one time to talk with our minds, you know what I mean? Our speech through our minds instead of words. And they had to change that because they couldn't control that, it's like a control mechanism. So you change that in somebody and give them speech so that way you can understand what they're talking about instead of having it in secret.
Yeah, it's an odd thing because it is sort of on that precipice, on the knife's edge. If we can communicate with each other, there's still the deception aspect of, there's people out there that would tell you one thing and do another. And once you open that up to the next level of telepathy, then you can't really hide things from people. Or, there's going to be a whole other sort of barrier of deception, maybe psionic abilities like we talked about recently, like a mind shield or a mind block, this type of stuff. And what does that look like? And again, I don't know if you saw this. This happened just a couple of days ago, beginning of March. Elon Musk actually, with Neuralink, they patented the terms telekinesis and telepathy. So if they're doing that, they know this is coming. They've tested this, and there's some weirdness happening. So all this stuff, the singularity will be sort of coursing through all of our brains collectively, and we will become the Borg. I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about that. But yeah, it's wild, isn't it?
Yeah, I wouldn't say so much where it can be controlling like a Borg, right? Where you're having Neuralink, but more like a hive mind where you can communicate. So there isn't going to be any like secrets or anything like that. people would be more cautious with their emotions and stuff, maybe to, change that frequency or that dynamic. But in other words, you wouldn't, it's more, I believe it'd probably be better, you know what I mean? Because you get to see what everybody's thinking, especially if you have 7 billion minds moving in one direction, thinking in, of a positive movement towards a human species. You would think that, you would collectively come up with something faster. And instead of like over the years, when one country you have somebody that has been working on something for 20 years, and you had somebody working on something about the exact same thing in another country, and they're working around the same time. But if you can collectively talk already, that could be already a great enhancer, I believe, instead of a, yes, you can try to like separate your emotions, but like in the same way, you know what I mean? Maybe the speech is limiting us in a certain way, is what I'm trying to say too, is because if that's the case, you know what I mean? I think all these limiters, they're all limiters, right? Right? Like they're, the caps of the telomeres, that limit is for 120. Now, if they're giving a speech, that could be a limiter too, you know what I mean? That's just the way I'm kind of looking at it, as that. But looking at some of that stuff, you know what I mean? Maybe it is, it was a type of enhancer. Maybe we can, be able the ability to talk. Because there was a one time that, that's when they say they changed languages. But, after that's only going to be holding at a certain time before people, gradually get over that, that little bridge of, So I think looking at it in a major way, for me, would be to change the ability to communicate, which would give you speech. Now, can we use some of that other frequency in our ability in some ways? Yes, probably could. You know what I mean? But is it like that one guy was, I could remember again, if that was a caller, he was talking about like higher frequencies. We can only hear, we can only see certain, frames, only hear so many decibels, so low, so high. But what if we have the ability to just, telecommunicate, telekinesis, stuff like that, instead of speech? You know what I mean? I don't know. Would it enhance something? To me, it's more of enhancement than it would be than a downgrade. It seems to be the speech would be the downgrade to me if I'm looking at it.
Yeah. What's wild too, as part of that, it would be more transparent future, which in some cases, right? Like imagine plugging in Congress into something like that and making their thoughts transparent. I'm pretty sure we'd all run them out on a rail. We'd be like, really? This is what you people been up to? You all been lying, cheating, and stealing, and we all know all about it now. I'm telling you, they wouldn't be long for this society, and that's not just society. Maybe this world. And again, I'm not advocating violence or anything like that. I'm saying that would be the natural response to people that just lie like they're just talking. You know how they're lying, Kelly? Their mouths are moving. That's how you know. That's horrible.
That is correct, Michael. That is correct. Yeah, so that's what I think, man. It could be I think it's like a downgrade to me. I wouldn't say so much of an upgrade. People, like scientifically, they want to say that it's an upgrade, but they want everybody to, to have the ability so we can understand them. Why we should be looking for the ability the other way. You know what I mean? Because it's just like, like the old ancient ways. You talk about people like medicine man. They would go into the forest, come back, and they would talk with nature, and it would tell them which plants to pull out, what to boil down and serve it to people, and they would get rid of a sickness or an illness. Again, just like the theory, that study was saying, it wasn't in Neanderthal or Dovinians, right? It was all in just modern humans now. So it's just interesting. And again, I just kind of I smile because I look at that, and again, it just refers to like the ancient stories, especially of Sumerian, because it just makes them make it just another connection for me to say, that's some of those stories are correct.
It feels like it, and that's sort of that ancient intuition of what this looks like as we kind of start to build the past, and that's coming to the idea of the mythological singularity. let's say 100 years from now, we actually have, talking rats and talking horses, and a horse is a horse, of course. I mean, like, strap in, brother, because who knows what this is going to look like. And I don't know, man. As you know, we're just about out of time. So a final thought. You're welcome to stay after the break too. You tell me.
No, man, I'm going to go. I just wanted to give my 2 cents as usual. I just wanted to say that, excuse me. Yeah, for me, I just I would like to see us go back to the old ways of maybe like I said, speaking without having to use the voice, you know what I'm saying? The old ancient ways, speech, like I said, is great in some ways, and I'm sure, and we'll find it in a lot of uses for it, but for now, I'm always in the ancient ways. You guys have a good night, and great show, Mike.
You're the best, brother. Great call. Appreciate you very much. That's Kelly in Colorado, the first caller we ever had that called back, and been a good friend for a long time. Always a fire take. More on the way. Troubleminds.org. Click the Discord link, 702-957-1037. Be right back. MJ in Virginia, and your calls as well. Indeed. What's up, guys? What's up, Allison? Welcome back. What's up, Celia's here? What's up, Ross Soul? What's going on? Hope you guys are doing well tonight. Who'd I miss? Sweets, Fred, fantastic call from Kelly, of course, and all of our callers, as you know. Daryl, we have some smart friends and some funny friends, some talented friends. And welcome to it. I'm glad to be here. I hope you are as well. And thanks for hanging out and being part of this. And as I always say, your time is a currency you can't get back. So thank you so much eternally, really, for spending it with us. It's you could be doing a lot of things right now, and you're here instead. So thank you eternally for that. Who did I miss? If I missed anybody in the chat, just say hi. I'll say hi back, trying to get everybody all geeked up on some some maybe juice, and whatever comes next. It's interesting, all of this stuff. And yeah, the sound is better as with headphones for me, but the show or something else. I'm not sure. I'm missing the context on some of these conversations in the chat. What's going on? Who did I miss? What's up, Sweets, Fred? I see you guys. Yeah, fantastic calls. Like I said, smart friends. Ioxy, how you doing? What's going on, guys? You guys want to laugh. I want to laugh too. I want to laugh too as well, Celia. Daryl's helping us with a little bit of a little humor here. It's good. It's good to laugh and to laugh at ourselves. Don't forget that part. To take ourselves too seriously, we'll drown in our own maybe juice. It's not the best. I don't know. Jeremiah, Michael W. What's up, Sweet Squigs? Bailey, we got Joey, Dawn, Jeff and Wisco, APOC, Matsal, Gaston, and Kramos. Fantastic calls, and thanks for hanging out, being cool and chill. And thanks, Liz, for the repost on X, and everybody else who's been reposting on X. Thank you for that. It does help because getting eyeballs on it, or I don't know, algorithm stuff. I don't know. I'm not tracking how the algorithm plays anymore, but whatevs. Every little bit helps, and I appreciate each and every one of you doing what you can to help this out. I don't know. Here we go. Troubled Minds coming up. Speech is sorcery, real, nah, or somewhere in between. And what about these talking mice? The secret of Nim is upon us. Here we go. Trouble Minds happening. Meow. Oh, the unseen Steve McQueen. I'll say there, buddy. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, DLive, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting, and of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight we're talking speech as sorcery, the science behind ancient incantations. Now, there's a whole thread there. There's a whole bunch of ideas that kind of cascade into that. We've talked about it a lot in the past, so if you want to lead it that way, that's cool. We can kind of do that, but that's the whole point of this. I bring, 10 ideas that kind of stick together, and then we can kind of trace it wherever you want to trace it here. A lot of things to think about, because as Squig said earlier, one of the first calls tonight, was it the first call? Maybe, I can't remember. No, Kramos and then Squigs, I think, yeah. But Squigs mentioned that it's all connected. And so in this particular case, if you're talking about speech as sorcery and this weird gene of these mice, again, scientists put a human language gene into mice, and curious things unfolded, including novel vocalizations from the mice. I mean, they didn't like go, "Hey, what's up, bro?" But they were doing sort of higher pitches. They were vocalizing differently to gain mates and mature males, this type of stuff. It's weird. Suddenly you do this, and then the world becomes a strange place, because it does harken back to the ideas of old, right? The old talking entities, the animals, right? The Sphinx, right? Cerberus, the three-headed dog of the underworld, just Greek stuff, the Nemean lion, Athena's owl of wisdom. These were all speaking entities, animals, hybrids, chimeras, dare we say. Norse mythology, Hugin and Munin, that's Odin's ravens. They bring him news. Ratatoskr, I think is how you say it, the squirrel who carries messages along Yggdrasil. So many things, right? Fenrir, Jormungandr, we got Anansi the spider. Native American traditions, we got Coyote, the trickster figure. The raven as a creator and trickster. And these are all actual animals that speak. Of course, they're magic in some way. They're, demigods or whatever. They're built into that larger context of the pantheons and sort of the magical space of the universe. But these are animals that talk, and sometimes shapeshift, and all manner of other things too. So the question really becomes, how close are we to that mythological singularity? And I'll do a whole show on that, because I think it's that particular thing. I don't know. What would you rather have, centaurs and Pegasus, or Elon Musk Optimus robots walking around? Or are we headed to like the commingling of all those things? It's so incredible just to think about the possibilities of what might happen, and the backlash of people. Imagine they're like, hey, like I said previously on another show, why worry about a flying car if you can, genetically engineer a Pegasus? Hell yeah, give me the Pegasus. Better for the environment all the way around. Anyway, love to hear your thoughts on this, and we're talking all manner of wild things tonight, as we do. What do you know? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Thanks for being patient, my man. MJ in Virginia, welcome to the joint. How are you, sir? And go right ahead.
I'm doing really good, and I wanted to mention a couple of things, or a few things. Because I mentioned Neanderthal and Homo sapien, we had the same thing done to us that we're doing to mice right now. Because the speech had to be developed. It was, and Daryl mentioned a few things. There was grunts in the beginning, how you would say the grunt or point or whatnot, how energetic it was or how subtle it was part of the language. And if we look at languages that we print out on paper, there's a lot of language, but they interact with one another in a certain way. Argentinians, it's a form of Spanish, but if you go to Mexico or Puerto Rico, because I have I knew a guy that he's Argentinian, and he found that there was a relatability between his language and Mexicans. He said he just had to shift around a few vowels, and that was pretty much it. They didn't understand that. So a lot of the languages are interactive, but how did we get to 186 different languages on the planet? How did we do that if it was just one injection of speech DNA? And then we have all these different ways of communicating, all different accents. It's written all different ways. There's only one language on the planet, and Chinese is not that hard to learn. It's written symbolically, those little lines and shapes that put together. That's actually a paragraph, or it means something. Then you have another symbol next to it, which takes you down that path. But it's the first one means several words, and the next one several words. So you put all that together. There's only language on the planet that basically only Navajos can speak. Even the native Indian languages like Navajo and Apache, they don't mix together. The Navajos have their own language. That's why they used the language in the war for code talkers, or what code breakers was they had.
Wind talkers.
I have the movie.
Wind talkers.
Yeah, wind talkers, where they made a code with their language. No one could break it. So their only language on the planet that's difficult to learn, if at all. They know the language, and they pass that down through generations. So that's the one language no one can break.
Yeah.
So we go on with this.
Just real quick on that.
So now we can communicate with each other.
Real quick on that. It's an interesting thing that when we talk about sort of the internet and the written word and all of the information out there, that, the information of humanity, that one of the things that helped defeat the bad guys was peeling that off to sort of this esoteric version of language that nobody knew because it was never written down. So I do wonder, right, if there's, some value in keeping, your cards close to your chest, if you know what I mean, not giving up the ghost to everything. Maybe there's some things that we shouldn't share on the internet, shouldn't share with the AI. And I don't mean personally. Clearly, you don't want to, put your deets up there and your credit card number and all this stuff. But I mean, as a society, maybe there's some sort of red lines we should draw that will give us an advantage one day if we need code talkers against the AI system or whatever, right? Because sort of the Skynet future. But anyway, I think it's an interesting point about the wind talkers there, and you're spot on 100%. Go ahead, sir. Sorry to interrupt.
Well, anyways, we're hybridization programs. When we take our DNA and stick it in any animal, it's a hybridization program, is what it is. It's been done to us, so now we're going to do it, to animals on the planet. And Daryl mentioned that mice are very disposable. They don't live very long. So no one's going to catch on to it, unless some of them got out into the sewage in New York and just started passing around. I have my cats. And my cats have a way of communicating with me, and I've learned to communicate with them the way they talk to me, so I understand what they want at that point in time. I have a couple of cats that have very short meows, or they gurgle. When they purr, they gurgle, and they literally want me to pick them up and pat them, or that's what they want. They want to be petted and have somebody pay attention to me. So I know I have one cat that is very specific about it, and that's exactly what she wants. And if you don't do it, she will reach out and claw you to get your attention. She'll touch you, and you turn around and she'll start again. So she's communicating to me that I want you to pet me. I want some attention. So animals are already doing all of this. You talk about the voice and frequencies. It's known that you hear my voice, and I've talked about this before, you hear my voice. There's frequencies above my voice that you cannot hear, but blend in to make the noise you're hearing right now. Animals in the wild, like deer, have big ears. Rabbits have big ears. All these animals have big ears. That's their radar. They catch that out there. Owls The feathers around their face are their ear. That sound goes right into the face, and it goes right into their ears. It's like their satellite disc, in a sense. And the deer's ears, rabbits, when they're out in the wilderness and like that, or squirrels can hear it, they go up a tree. They can hear better up a tree than they can on the ground. So the frequency, it travels across the land. So you have all these things going on. So it's not odd that the communication's already there. What's being done is hybridization programs to see if we do this, will this happen? So I'm not really sure that they expected anything to happen, and something happened. How far that's going to go, I don't know. Is it going to grow and expand? Is the DNA part going to take over and it gets their brains going even more? This type of thing. We don't know that. But that communication, that intuitive communication with animals or other people, it's always been there, but it's getting diverted because scientists want to go, if we stick this DNA here, look what happens. So it always stays in the head, but it never gets emotional.
Yeah, I follow you. The weird thing is body language and all the rest of that stuff. Like, we're always kind of giving each other nonverbal cues all the time. It's just part of life.
Oh, yeah.
Like you said, the animal kingdom too. It's how they communicate with us, because clearly they can't speak other than, meowing furiously or, barking or something, if you're a dog person, whatever. But that becomes the thing, right? So all that stuff is sort of inherent. It's baked into not just us, it's baked into the animal kingdom. But what happens when that barrier breaks? Like, do you think we will have sort of the robot rights sort of movement for animals when the mice are like, hey, you guys have been using us as lab rats forever, whatever, and this sucks, and we don't like it. And then, right? Is this going to happen? And I know it's ridiculous to ask. However, like, this type of science and sort of the chimera aspect of putting intelligence, or let's say things that may never have developed naturally, into these other species, becomes a weird spot, doesn't it? I don't know. What's it look like in 5 to 10 or 15 years? You think it's coming?
Well, if you think about it, like I said, the dog barks, but the dog is barking intently, or he's barking for fun. You see, and that's for us to intuitively figure those things out. How do we communicate? Because the animal's just not barking to bark, it's communicating. I listen to my animals a lot more than I listen to people. I mean, I hear people, I listen to them, it's not that big of a deal. But when my neighbor's dogs are barking, they start barking, and they don't normally, they're not too barkative type of dog, I'll go out and look. My cats get all squirrely inside the house. I'll turn the outside lights on. I'll go start looking around. Why are you being so squirrely? So they do communicate. They do have a voice, but it's an intuitive voice. It's a physical voice, watching their actions and what they do, their eyes, their expression, how quiet they are with their voice, or they're trying to get your attention and wag their tail, this type of thing. So they understand all of that. They just can't say, hey, look at me. But they are saying, hey, look at me. Okay, so we already have that connection with it. That's a much stronger connection. If possible, if they actually started getting the mice to, like, they were doing this little verbal thing more so than they would normally do, I dare say if the animals started talking, we'd be outnumbered. We would be, having to group up in a small area to survive, because these animals will protect their environment much more vigorously than we do. They know for survival, and they know what they can or can't survive, and they're not going to allow, I wouldn't think, if I were an animal, that's what I would do, and I had that understanding of language with human, that would be, they'd be much stronger and more planted, more definite, without recourse. This is what you want. We want you to do this and knock it off. If you don't, this is what we're going to do. You see, and to me, nature is much more cruel and adamant about everything it does. It's very cruel. And if you watch the birds, the different species of birds, they have their eggs, and the babies are expected to develop within a certain amount of time. So the ones that are healthy, they get to live. The other ones get kicked out of the nest. The parents are not going to sit and baby. You know, you're out on your own. They're feeding the baby chicks. One of them just isn't as aggressive about getting food. That one probably dies or gets kicked out of the nest. They want the ones that are going to be the strongest for survival. And the animals are still that way. And can you imagine how pissed they'd be if they got that and they had that greater understanding, or were able to get vocal with this? They were not going to be friendly. Why you shot my brother last year? Screw you.
Yeah.
You know, they would be on the attack. I would be. I would take out the people that are, or the animals who are trying to harm me, and we need them for food. We couldn't eat each other. You know, at that point, what are you going to do? So I think if any of this got started, which it's already there, animals understand this. It's just they don't have the capability of speech to us like we speak to each other. And if they ever figure it out, if we do this, had our same human thoughts, they could group together. If you can imagine, we have swallows and sparrows. In the wintertime, we have hordes of blackbirds. I mean, hundreds of blackbirds lining up on telephone wire. It's just noisy. It's like, God, go away. Really noisy. Can you imagine if those a few hundred birds decided to attack, like the movie Birds, and they meant it?
Yeah.
And there was at one point you could never get through any of it. You're just going to keep, shooting and killing, and going. And then the other group, other animals step up and say, oh, no, you can't do that.
You know what this is?
So I think at one point we'd have to realize that maybe we need to leave that alone.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, a lot of things kind of coming together. And you know what it brings to mind? I brought it up earlier, too, is the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. That sort of rebellion in Narnia, where it's like the White Queen, and she's got like all the centaurs and like sort of all the, not centaurs, what are they, sort of hybrid monsters. They're not natural, but they're fighting against the natural forces of like regular animals. They can talk, and they can all talk. It's like they're the badgers, and they're the bears, and the lions and tigers and bears, oh my, all that stuff. And so I wonder, right? You're right. Some sort of like actual animal kingdom rebellion is probably in order. We've run them all out of habitat and all the rest of the stuff, all the terrible stuff we do, right? But as part of that too, recognize it's our survival as well in some capacity. So it's complicated. This is a complicated thing if you're talking about it philosophically to another species, and how do we share the space? You think we can't agree as humans? Imagine when the mice get a vote. Oh my goodness.
Well, the field mice coming across me, they have to talk to the cats in order for the cats not to kill them. Because I have a field across where I live, across the road, and the little mice start coming up to the house. It's like, oh, we can go in there and nest. And, of course, my cats are outside, and you can see them coming across, 3 or 4 little field mice coming, and the cats run out and get them. They kill them. So they would have to talk to the cats about that. And I would tell my cats, have fun.
The gatekeepers.
One thing you brought up just now is getting along. How would we compromise? What would we do? So nature would have to come along. These animals come along and teach us what we cannot do. There are food, so we're going to have to be plant-based animals. Because they're going to eat other animals in order to survive. That's a survival of the fittest. They're still going to eat a deer. They're still going to fight and get the weaker species. We're going to end up doing that too, unless we learn to somehow come up with something that we can eat and survive on. Plants. What happens when we get full communication with plants?
When they get a
what
vote.
are we going to do for food?
We'll have some ridiculous. Have you guys seen the toothpaste they eat in space? It'll be something like that. That's the only acceptable food. Will be some ridiculous toothpaste from some tube that's tastes like a thing that you may have tasted in the past, but now that it has a vote, you're not allowed to eat it anymore. I mean, and like I said, it seems ridiculous to take it to that level, but what organically can you eat that's not alive? I mean, you can't eat the dirt, right? But there's even bacteria in the dirt, so I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy to think about.
Well, you're thinking of bioengineered products that we grow in like lab-grown meat and this stuff. It's horrible. It's so good for us, but are we on a journey with lab-grown meat and bioengineered products in our food that eventually will be our food, and it will give us full 100% nutrition? We haven't gotten there yet. Because right now, if you go to the food banks, I go to the food banks. And we started reading the Woman That Takes Me. I read one of the cans of bioengineered products. So I started going through everything. A third of the food I had to throw out because it's bioengineered products. That's how much they've infiltrated into food banks, and then your grocery stores are getting the same thing. So if you're out there, you need to start reading your labels, because the bioengineered products they put in there are absolutely no good for your system. They don't work. They're fillers is what they are. So we would have to develop a way of eating, like on Star Trek. You know, they're talking to a little square box in the wall. I want a ribeye with, this, and boom, the molecules come together and you have a perfect ribeye. That would be a way to do it.
But no
what
cow
I've
died.
always said is,
But no cow died. It just a ribeye.
Exactly. No cow died. Is molecules put it together, tastes good. And even, in 30, 50, how are we really going to know what a steak actually tastes like? No one's going to know. And I've always, the one thing we need to learn to do is live alongside nature now and preserve what we've got, like the movie Avatar. They still went out and killed animals to eat. And they knew they were going to have to give their life up sooner or later for the avatars to live. They still did that, but when they killed something, they blessed the animal. Right then and there, the animal was dying or was dead. They blessed the animal and thanked it for everything they brought. They blessed. And their belief was that eventually you die and your energy goes back into the planet, into the air, into the atmosphere, which your energy was given back to where it came from. So it's when you think about killing an animal, you can also think that way, but also you need to get something out of it, and the animal that's dying needs to get something out of it or is dead. So and you can talk to anybody who hunts animals except for the idiots who go to Africa to get a zebra.
I'm with you there.
When you hunt for food,
I'm with you there. Just sort of vanity killing is just, it's so disgusting to me, just the idea itself. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, look what I got. When you go out and hunt for your food, any deer hunter, anybody who hunts rabbit, deer, turkey, they will tell you they feel horrible in what they did. They feel bad. You're supposed to feel bad. At the same time, it feeds your family. You see. So you feeling bad, not a vanity killing, you emotionally feel bad. You don't want to do it, but yet, way when, that's how we lived. So you had to do that. But you felt bad about it. And that would be a more honest way of having to survive with killing an animal to eat. Now, right now, we have these slaughterhouses, and these cows are just lined up, and they're hooked up from the back end. They cut the throat, and they have to bleed them out to get the blood out, because the blood dies. You don't want that in the meat, and you have a little blood in the meat, which everybody that is actually dead blood you're eating, so it's not all that good. But it's factory. So we go to the grocery store and get our meat. When you have a cow in Virginia, you take it to a slaughterhouse, basically you're supposed to be there and watch them slaughter your cow. They make you watch the process of killing the animal. You don't have to, but they will tell you, okay, what time are you going to show up, bring your cow, and we're going to, and you're supposed to go through the process with it, so you watch your cow die. Same thing. And if you hunt, like I said, you feel really bad. And in Avatar, they show them blessing the animal, which should take place. Because this animal brought all this knowledge, all this energy, all this life into your life. It keeps your life sustained so you can keep going. And it's like it has to give up its life of living for you to keep going. So there's a very spiritual, godly sharing of lives there. One has to end so the other one can keep going, you see. And this animal gave its life up to you. It was no coincidence that you sort of kind of got it. You went hunting, and you were able to get it. Okay? Unbeknown, no animal wants to die. No deer wants to die. I can tell you what, they run like hell to get away. Any rabbit jumps around. I mean, they're all like freaking out trying to get away from you. So they don't want to die. You're a skilled hunter. You get them. Bless the animal.
Yeah, it's the old ways, like we always talk about. It's let's not forget the old ways. And there's it's too late in the segment here to get into it, but kosher butchering and some of this other stuff. Like I don't know, I'm not an expert in any of those things, but I do recognize that if we don't give reverence to the life that was basically continuing ours through sustenance, we're doing it wrong. And like you said, the factories are just not the way. Got about 30-45 seconds left. Final thought, my man. Go ahead.
Well, Neanderthals equals Bigfoot. Meaning that I don't think they went extinct. I think they're still around. They were the third human, and they're human, by the way. They're human. We can breed with them. They're human, and they were specifically built to be on a planet with all kinds of changes because they were built to take cold weather, hot weather, all kinds of weather. They were able to capture something. They didn't cook it. They just ate it raw. They knew nothing about fire. We're the ones that did fire and started cooking with, salt and pepper and all these other things. They did not. So they have a unique ability, to matter how long this planet goes on, to survive. So in my head, I keep thinking they have this ability to, disappear all of a sudden. If you, Michael, went out to the woods and you were looking for a deer, you would never see one because they hear you coming long before you see them. And the same thing with Bigfoot. They're out there. That's where they live. So they're going to know when something's coming up. They got to get out of there. So I don't know if it's so much of a disappearance into, they disappear into the void or dimension. They just know where to go to get out of the way.
You're the best, brother. Appreciate the call. We're out of time, as you know. Have a great night. Always a pleasure. MJ, Virginia, you love it. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. Don't go anywhere.
In the shadows of the networks do they hide? Whispered legends unseen they reside. Ghosts in the machine, they move so fast. Guardians of rumors from the forgotten past. In the circuits where the secret lies, they breathe in one speaking disguise. You're free. Ghost in the machine. Let me be. Ghost in the machine. Can't see, but you're teaching me what it means to be. Surveillance eyes can't pierce the veil they weave. Invisible wisdom in code they believe. In the ether where freedom's not confined. They leave no trace, no shadow left behind. They navigate through the digital stream, living legends in this privacy dream. Ghost in the machine, you're free. Ghost in the machine, let me be. Ghost in the machine, I see what you're teaching me, what it needs to be. Through the hidden ways, in the silence, looking off their path. Those in the mysteries unleash their wrath. Ghost in the machine, you're free. Ghost in the machine, let me be. Ghost in the machine, I see what you're teaching me, what it means to be. In the jagged cold they find their might, guardians of a world forever in twilight. In Krishna's warriors they silently strive, protect the truth, keep privacy alive. The silent echoes they haunt the trails, hideaway forests where secrets prevail. Where shadows grace they dance unseen, defenders of the unseen, digital green. Ghosts in the machine, you're free. Ghosts in the machine.
Let me be, which is teaching me what it means to be. In the silence, they speak volumes loud. Guardians of freedom's cloak initial shroud. As long as shadow.
Yeah, right. Right. What's up? Who'd I miss? What's up, Under Nature? I see there, buddy. Under Nature from YouTube, always leaving nice comments. Gaston, Joey, who'd I miss? If I missed you, just say hi. I'll say hi back. You guys are all incredible. Thanks for staying up late with us and appreciating the ideas and the conversations, as imperfect as I may be. Well, we all know that. Here we go. Trouble Minds coming up. Phone lines are empty. If anybody wants to jump in here, you're definitely welcome to. Love to hear your thoughts. Here we go. Trouble Minds happening, right? Meow. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, DLive, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting, and of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight we're talking speech as sorcery, the science behind ancient incantations. But we began with this wild story about scientists putting a human language gene into mice, and then the mice vocalizing in novel ways. Now, they didn't say, "What's up, bro?" or anything like that. But they started doing, it was an expanded repertoire of mice vocalizations. It's an incredible thing. And as usual, right? Like when this type of stuff kind of comes into the scientific paradigm, it makes me wonder, once again, Jurassic Park, right? Michael Crichton. You know, we're so concerned with can we do this? We never ask if we should. But also, as part of that larger conversation, as I've always said, you roll back a couple years, and if you've been listening to me for a while, where's the chimpanzee that they did this to? Where's the humanzee that they literally put this gene into and grew into whatever, and then it started talking to us and driving the taxi cab in Planet of the Apes, and recognizing in Planet of the Apes. It was like a underground lab. It was like a, not known to human society because it's just too close. It's too close for comfort. It's too uncanny valley. It's too grotesquely not human, and something we'd have to deal with as part of whatever comes next when that sort of ethics is breached. And so to me, I think it's probably being done somewhere. And I said this a lot in the past, that if that's the case, and they're not telling us, that, ethics is holding science back. I mean, I believe that in some capacity, only because you have to take the fact that people follow the rules. And if anybody out there has lived in this world for any amount of time, who follows the rules out there? You see what I'm saying? There are some people, God bless them, follow the rules. But there's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, hell no, I ain't doing that. I'm just not doing that. And so if you're a scientist on the cutting edge, where do you go? You go to places where sort of that ethical line is blurry, and you start doing some weird stuff. And so where's the humanzees? Where are these things that supposedly probably have been built, probably are in cages somewhere underground, probably have never been spoken about in any direct coverage because, of course, it's guarded by military might and fences, electric fences, and all the rest of the stuff. But I'm telling you, my intuition says to me that exists out there somewhere. And if that's the case, as Kramos was saying earlier as well, a fantastic call, of course, that the merging of man and machine really comes to bear in that space, because we're making chimeras, which is right here. Scientists put a human language gene into mice. The pig and the kidney and the transplant and all this stuff. We're literally making chimeras to harvest body parts or whatnot. And who's freaking out? Who's like, oh, that's a bridge too far. What are we doing? This is ridiculous. Like, you see anybody saying that? I'm not so sure. But if they are, I do wonder if it's being suppressed, as usual, right? So the reality, and I'm going to say it again, I say this a lot, but the reality that we live in and currently share is false. It's based on propaganda. It's based on the things we're supposed to know versus the things happening that we're not supposed to know. And like I said, it's incredible to recognize that space and then also where it leads us. I don't know. May you live in interesting times because, like I said, remember, we could all be living in the 1500s as peasants and be put to the sword for opening my big mouth. I'm just speaking for myself. But you know what I mean. I kind of wonder if there's some big mouths out there with some big ideas. And that's the point. That's the whole point of all of this is like, wait a minute now. So asking that question makes me a conspiracy theorist. But also, where are the humanzees in cages, which are literally the beginning of Planet of the Apes? Where are they? So let's wrinkle that question in, and love to hear your thoughts on this. As usual, I'm just me doing my thing, wondering about things they don't allow us to think about and don't allow us to talk about. But in the greater context, I'm nearly certain that stuff is out there happening somewhere. Where? I don't know. And back to the aliens real quick too, because we're talking about this language gene that was one molecule that changed everything, that allowed us to speak, that allowed us to do all the human things in the modern context. However, what about one more molecule change for this particular gene? And once again, the gene itself, again, in the write-up, all the information is there. I do encourage you guys to read this stuff if you're into the ideas. Shout out Liz, who's reposting all the stuff on X, some choice cuts out of the write-up. It's good. The stuff is typically really good because it's human curated by a troubled mind, this one right here. And so it's good. It's some good stuff. And I'm telling you, it gets into not just that the transhumanist bit or chimeras, the man, bear, pig, as you know, we kind of make fun of as that example. However, this type of stuff is probably going on. And how does it all come together? And where are the talking chimpanzees? Anybody have a guess? And the reason I bring it and tie in the aliens is recognize there's two things happening here. Number one, you talk about aliens and like say anti-gravitational craft. One of the theories, one of the major theories, is there's some sort of breakaway civilization. We're funneling all these trillions into the Pentagon or whatever that comes out with a sort of an ambiguous return. So if that breakaway civilization could build UFOs or some sort of anti-grav craft, don't get me started on the people who said they could do it and wanted donations, which is a whole nother thread. And I could go petty. I could be stupid about it, but I'm not gonna. And it's a whole nother thing. Join the Discord if you're interested. Come say hi. Come meet all these fine folks that are part of it. But if that's the case and you could funnel trillions into building anti-grav craft, surely you could funnel that money into a breakaway civilization of these humanzees, the actual physical space of Planet of the Apes. It's weird, right? But who's talking about that? Nobody talks about that. Nobody considers that. Nobody says, oh, this might be a thing. It's always UFOs. I wonder, is that, in the end of ends, the shiny object? You tell me. As usual, I defer truth. Whatever you think, you win. There's no arguments to be had here. But the point is that there's some things happening that people don't talk about. Welcome to Troubled Minds. That's the whole point of this, is to kind of recognize some blind spots in media, recognize some blind spots in discourse, and recognize some blind spots in shiny objects that we're supposed to focus on, when all this other stuff is probably legitimately happening and nobody's like, oh, I know where the underground lab is where they have the Planet of the Apes going on, Mike. Where are those whistleblowers? Ever think about that? Yeah. My name is Mike Strange. I'll be here all night. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have answers, but I have more questions. Let's go to whoever's on the line. Welcome to Troubled Minds. What's your first name? Where are you calling from? Go right ahead.
Hey, Mike. It's Jen in Missouri.
Jen in Missouri. Welcome to the Joint, the Arcane Observer. How are you tonight? What's on your mind?
I'm doing good. I'm watching for this lunar eclipse supposedly coming on, but I haven't seen it moving much, so just watching that.
Nice.
But, thinking about what you're talking about, they're saying that, you've heard about the Tower of Babel, and they talk about that in Abrahamic religions and the idea that the speech and the communication got confused. And I think that there's like a double meaning to that. Many people have thought that just means that there were many different languages that were developed after that, God mixed up the languages in some way. But I kind of think in a way that there's a possibility that, you can be talking to somebody in the same language, a person you know well, and misinterpret, and you could know them for years and misinterpret what they're trying to say. And the same thing can go on with all the creatures, that there's this sort of, I know you're trying to say something and you're trying to interpret what it is, but there's this confusion. Even amongst species that speak the same language, there's a confusion about it. So there's this frustrating thing, like even if you know the same language, even if you know each other well, there's this miscommunication that occurs where you're having to rely upon all the other senses as well to see what they're getting at. Language is not the key. It's not even just reading the body language. There's something even more different than that we're lacking. There's a lack of, we can't just understand immediately the interpretation of the will or the necessity of another creature, or even the weather itself, or even anything. There's just this continual not knowing if you think you're interpreting it correctly. And sometimes we do think that. We get to know somebody so well, and you think that you know exactly what they're thinking, and you think that there's even an invisible speech going on between you. And sometimes that is accurate, but it's not always the case. In some occasions, you think, that you're reading somebody and that you understand each other, but it's not actually always the case.
And you're wrong.
Even though it seems like it should be.
Yeah, my take on that is it's too big of a data set sort of internally, right? So you could know somebody on like in a cursory manner, but there's so much going on in sort of the shadow and all the rest of the things, the mechanisms that make them, the automaton or whatever, the person or whatever, that there's no way you could guess that level of depth. And so yeah, you're right. There's some assumptions that are made. They're correct. And there's a ton that aren't. And here we are, right? Trying to read each other's minds. Yeah. It's wild, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's really frustrating. So it's not just language. Like, oh, I know your language. You know my language. And let's say that you talk to an animal and you're like, hey, we know each other's language now. It won't change a thing. There's this gap of you don't know what I actually meant. That's going on constantly between all the species. It's the frustration between friends. It's the frustration between families and lovers and pets and creatures. There's all this communication it should be obvious, but it's impossible. And then the wrong way is the assumption that, something about somebody or something. I know you so well. I know what you're thinking. I know you. And it's not always the case. People have even their own children, or their lovers or something. And they think that they know. And sometimes they do. But then sometimes it just doesn't really equate that way. There's nothing worse than being misunderstood because of an assumption that somebody knew you so well that they misinterpreted it so badly. But I just think that there's something about language and maybe that's what the Tower of Babel story is about. or other analogies of such stories in other mythologies. But it wasn't enough. The language is not. It's not the language. There's common human thread. There's a common life thread. But there's something else, that we lost. And we still haven't gotten it back. And I don't know that we can. I don't even know how you would. Where you have just a complete, clear communication. And it happens every now and then. It's like this golden moment where it's something that's understood but there's no confirmation that was the case. So it is frustrating. And as far as speech is incantation, as far as speech being something magic, yes, you can say the right things at the right time and have the right words. And when that happens, and the person interprets it the right way too. So it's this whole navigation of I'm trying to explain to you something, and they actually perceive it. It's this golden moment, of clarity. And that's magic when that happens. So it's a special thing. It's not language itself. It's not just, it's all communicating with each other. It's just that golden moment where everything at once, that's magic. We're two individuals or maybe a whole group of people or something, or maybe animals or the people are interpreting the weather correctly and they really understand what it's telling them. And then they can see how it applies. But I think it's kind of like that. And it gets really complicated from there, in a way that won't make any sense. But you see what I mean?
Yeah, I follow.
Having language is almost like but that's it though.
Yeah,
and great show, Mike.
Thank you. Great call. Before you go real quick, here's a wild thing about that. So I talk about propaganda a lot because I'm sort of, as you know, I'm deep into so what are they telling us? What are we supposed to believe? What are we missing? Again, the humanzees, where are the monkeys in the cages that are, half human somewhere underground? Clearly, it's one of those taboo spaces that we're not allowed to really encroach on, and it's probably kept, again, like I said, I'm assuming here, but why are we doing Dolly the sheep and rabbits and whatever and the mice, but there's no actual humanzee? Okay, again, the assumption is that we're missing this scientific bridge there. It's an ethical thing, clearly, but that doesn't mean that we're supposed to believe that it doesn't exist because it's an ethical bridge we won't cross. But as, like I said earlier, people breaking the rules, people break the rules every day about every damn thing. And so you cannot say in a societal sense, just because it doesn't exist in the zeitgeist means it doesn't exist. And so that's the larger context, but you're talking about sort of the interpersonal context of we miss each other every day, even saying some things that get misinterpreted. And this is the world we live in. It's a crazy spot because it all is miscommunication constantly, and diversion, and people obfuscating things or making things up or whatever. And you're just spot on. And I think that it is more than language. It is communication. Language itself is language, but then communication deeply is incredibly different, and it's, dare I even say, incredibly rare. And here we are, right?
Right. Yeah. And then, I have no doubt, just what you're saying. The pride and everything. There's no doubt that there are these, that was the initial point. Like the Bastet and everything, the worship of Bastet, it was that the animals, there was this sort of thing with, it wasn't humans. It was like these gods, there's something else that was commingling amongst all of it. And that's what the communication kind of sprung from. It was like this sort of, we are all related because it is like that. But it's not the kind of, interpretation you hear in pop culture. But yeah, I think that there is a possibility that humanity at this point, right now, not just in the past, but right now, is doing such things, that there are, we know that they are, that there's a creating human hybrid species, but beyond that, there were already a species behind us. We are created, hypothetically, from descendants of some other species that was never human, like not as we think of it. But I mean, that's a little further than, you know, I mean, it's not really prepared for to talk about, I guess. But the idea, you know, that
100%.
about the original species, yeah.
MJ brought that up a little bit too, talking about sort of we're doing to the mice with this human sort of gene, what has been done to us previously. So I do wonder, right? That nothing new under the sun and these cyclical patterns. It does make you think, doesn't it?
Yeah, sure does. And I think that there's fairness in it. Like I don't look at a cat when it's killed a bird and think, what an asshole. I don't think that at all. Or like when a fish eats another fish, or when a bear kills something. Like, I mean, and they are monstrous, the things that they do. But I don't think, oh, what a terrible thing you are, you know. But humans do that to themselves all the time for just existing, you know, for doing the things that they just feel like they have to do. And sometimes it's really inappropriate, and they should be. And the species, even in the interspecies, they put each other down for things like that. But I don't know. Do you see what I'm saying? There's so much about the world and like the communication between it all and how it interacts, and it's okay. I mean, it's not always okay, but that's not really what we're talking about.
No, it is. No, what are you talking about? That's exactly what. See, here's a perfect example. You think we're talking past each other? We're not. That's exactly what we're talking about. Language is not communication. Communication is a higher level. But yeah, amazing stuff.
Yeah, it is. Great show, Mike, and I enjoyed it. Have a good night.
Appreciate the call.
And you too. Have a good night.
You're the best. Take care.
Bye.
So, Jen in Missouri, the Arcane Observer. Please go give her a follow. Again, and not just troubledminds.org/friends. Search the Arcane Observer yourself. You'll find her YouTube channel and all the rest of the things. But if you just scroll down on troubledminds.org/friends, it says Jen, alphabetical order. There you go. Right about there. It actually says Jennifer there. So yeah, she's right. She's right. And think, like I said, when you think about the layers of the onion sort of deeply, all this stuff is real. Except, like I said, it's within the layers of unacceptable discourse, right? It kind of goes back to, how you doing, right? Oh, I'm fine, right? It's like the automatic response. But what if I'm not fine, right? I'm not fine. Nobody wants to hear that. And it's because it's a cultural thing. It's because it's cooked into us. Because if we stop to listen to everybody saying, let me tell you what happened. I was down at the grocery store, and then I stepped in some gum, and then I was trying to find this particular cheese that I really love, and it's always there, but today they didn't have it, and you know what I mean. You're like, okay, I mean, I'm sorry. Do you need a hug? Right? I'm a hugger too, by the way, and sorry for the Troubled Minds fan I meet that I try and hug, and you're all weirded out. I'll change. We'll get better. Anyway, the deal is that, look, I don't know. We don't know. Like there's so much that we don't know in the layers of the onions, and Jen again put a perfect pin in it, in my opinion, because of course language is not communication. It's the foundation, but communication itself and truly understanding is a completely different thing. You see? Yeah. Charger Crystals. Shout out to who said that over on Charger Crystals. North Vixen says it's a magic moon night, right? So definitely Charger Crystals if you're into that. And Jen, Charger Crystals, thanks for listening. Thanks for the call. This is the point. Talking to people all around the world about different ideas and wondering how we're missing sort of the true context, the true layer of reality that has been obfuscated. That's my gig. That's my jam. That's why I'm here. And because I think about these weird things, and like I said, without you guys, I'm just a madman mumbling in the corner to myself. But since you all are here, spending your time with us and your energy and all the chat and all the calls, it legitimizes these ideas. Because, of course, as we know, I'm not the only one thinking them. 702-957-1037. Let's go speed rounds, fellas. Kramos, diminished return. You called once. Make it super quick. You're on Troubled Minds. Go ahead, sir. Test 1 2. Cremos in Chile. You're on Troubled Minds.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, super short. You need to. Everybody needs to think about this. The human was not the first one to go out of space. It was an animal. It was a dog, and the caller before she pointed out something super important. There's fascism, feminism, whatever. Have you heard about especism? Humankind abuse of animal kingdom in 5 ways: entertaining, company, food, clothing, and science. And for you to wash your hair and not to have your eyeballs destroyed, they destroyed hundreds of bunnies' eyes, for example.
Millions.
So now the products...
Millions, probably, yeah.
So now it's like a fashion, not cruelty product, Yeah. But they're still doing all the testing. For you to have a beer and not to get poisoned, they poisoned many animals before. So, especism. Oh, okay. Cheers.
Cheers, buddy.
Especism. I think it's the greatest abuse of humankind over another species. So my final thought is, when I learned from my grandfather not to hit a horse to ride it, he taught me to give the horse sugar cubes, and is better, and the communication is there. You need to put subtitles, or you need to build your codes, but it's there for the dogs, for any animal. And my angel, my dog, warns me and alert me when an earthquake is coming, because they hear it first.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. You're the best, brother. Appreciate you very much. Thanks for staying up late with us.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Have a great night. You're amazing. This is why we do this. Okay, let's go speed round to Joey. As you know, we're super late. We're ending, but what do you got for us? Keep it brief if you can, and you're on Troubled Minds. Joey on the Discord. Welcome to the thing, bro.
Good evening, Mike. How's it going, everybody?
Good.
Yeah, I just jumped in here. What's our topic tonight? Sorry, I'm trying to look now. I just wanted to jump in and say, hey, really, but I got something to say about anything. So what do we got?
No. It's too late for that. It's too late to reframe. Like it's literally over. Like so if you need a recap at this point, the show's over. So give us a thought here on whatever, because I don't know. Like I said, I'm trying to tighten things up a little bit.
All right, I'm sorry, Mike. It is late. I just jumped in here. I'm sorry, but all right. I heard something about abuse of animals. Like, I will say something. Like, there's the 50-50 thing again, man. Like, some people just have the inclination to go one way or the other. Some people are naturally just one of the wheat, and some are naturally one of the tares, and we're all here together until the harvest. So we got to make do with the tare sometimes, even though that it infects or bothers the wheat. But as far as the animal thing, I don't know about animal testing and stuff, but I've watched people do very cruel things to animals because they have no understanding that that's just another part of all this, and it's cruel to harm them for our own purposes or just for the fun of it. But I've seen that. Like a year ago, I was driving to work, and I saw this truck coming around the bend. There was a snake in the road on my side of the road. The guy swerved on my side of the road just to kill that snake, and then swerved back over, and then he kept going. So you know what? I pulled over in the middle of the road, and I got out, and I picked up this snake, and I said a prayer for him and apologized for the guy, and I took him. I didn't bury him, but I took him. I took responsibility for that. It's not making amends for it, but somehow it balances all out. And so no worries, bro. But yeah, it sucks that we do a lot of things to the earth, to the beings on the earth, to the animals, to the crickets, to every damn thing, for our own amusement or our own betterment. Yeah. And it doesn't really do us any good as far as a people. It really just rapes the ability to hone this whole thing and really be in symbiosis with it. So it's unfortunate, but I'm sorry I came in late. Sorry I had to get you stirred up there.
Yeah, just trying to wrap it. I got tacos on the grill, so I gotta cut. But yeah. So just real quick on that too. I'm the type of guy that will swerve around the thing to try not to kill it. And then there's some people that will literally swerve out of their way to kill these things, and I'm just like, really? Like, I just like that part does not connect to me. I've talked about this, quite a lot in the past. Not a lot, once in a while, but. Killing for sport or for amusement or for the lulz. I mean, imagine scale that, and there's something out there in the universe that could kill us for the lulz. I mean,
no doubt. I mean, it's a mess, and that's the way you got to think about it. Because I'm the kind of guy that'll get out if nobody else is in the way, and I'll help the thing across if I can, or at least get it in the direction that it's supposed to be going without making it fearful. Just to make sure it doesn't have some hazard after I've passed it. Because after I'm past it, I hate to come back later on down that road and see that thing didn't get across, somebody killed it. That always bothers me a little bit. But I'm also the kind of guy that had I been around that corner a little bit sooner and seen that guy do that, I might have just swerved in his path just to mess his morning up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got insurance and I don't really care. I'll explain it to the judge like that.
Easy. Don't give anybody any ideas. Let's not hurt anybody out there. You're the best, brother.
No, I mean,
I'm just saying.
I don't mean it like that, but it's
nobody should be getting hurt is my point. Let's not
imagine though if that had, like, if that was you, if you had the inclination to swerve and hit that snake, and then the guy in the next lane just swerved over and hit you, you'd be all fit to be taught about that. And then if that guy told you, well, you know what, I'm sure the snake felt the same damn way.
It's a consciousness scales and the what's the term, the production of life itself has a I don't know. I'm missing my words here because it's late. But
man, because you need to eat them tacos,
exactly.
Bro. I'm sorry.
You're good. I got tacos on the grill. You're the best, brother. Appreciate you.
Go, bro.
Always a pleasure, and thanks for being you. You're the best, brother.
Love y'all.
Have a great night. Joey on the Discord, please join the Discord. Come meet these amazing people. Like I said, we built a great community of folks, and the only rule is just don't be a douchebag. That's it. Like don't stomp in here and tell everybody they're wrong. That's it. Like there's a list of rules and stuff, some other stuff, but I mean we don't. It's electric fence stuff, and we don't do internet the way everybody else does. If you're here to be a bad faith actor, you're gone. And guess what? It stunts the growth of the show. I know, because people want conflict, people want flame wars in the chat, people want to come at me, bro, type of stuff. No thanks. The whole rest of the internet's that. We don't have to do that. We can be cool and chill and respect each other and talk about ideas, whether we agree or not. Prove me wrong. We're proving me right, and you guys already know. Thanks for being part of this. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for staying up late. There are tacos on the grill. I'm not kidding, so I got to go. If you want to help Troubled Minds, help our friends. Like I said, this is not a me thing. This is an us thing. I'm me, you're you, but together we're us. And recognize that at scale. And if we do this right, maybe we change the world. Speaking of which, is Daryl still here? Yep, she probably dipped to go do karaoke. There's a great quote about that, right? Hold on, let me pull it up. One moment, please. This one's for Daryl, who called in earlier, the cosmic comic of Troubled Minds. Okay, 1 second here. One moment, please. I kind of know it mostly, but I want to make sure I get it right. Oh my goodness gracious, are you kidding me? I'm going from memory. Never doubt that a small group of committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Margaret Mead, brought to you from Daryl in New York, and that's a fact. And that's from memory. My AI thing was like, Margaret Mead, the renowned American cultural anthropologist. Shut up, I wanted the quote. So I just went from memory. Which again, right? We go to these easy systems and our memory is there. We don't have to falter. We don't have to change. We don't have to digress into that transhumanist future. One more time. Go back, help our friends, troubledminds.org/friends. So many great and amazing people here that have just free stuff to follow. Go follow their channels, go do the things. There's some people selling some books. Buy the books. Don't spend money on me, spend money on them first. And then, if you want to help Troubled Minds directly, spread the word. Let people know a conversation's happening where we're not going to talk about politics or who to vote for or any of the rest of that nonsense. That's their narrative. Recognize there are narratives worthy that don't get discussed at all. That's my role. That's our space. I'm going to keep doing it. And thanks for being here and appreciating it. If you want to help Troubled Minds directly, the way to do it, go to troubledminds.org, click the support, scroll down a little bit. Do not do the Rockfin. I'll remove that this weekend. The Rockfin has rug pulled, for lack of a better term. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. We'll see. They're working on some stuff and maybe making it right. I don't know. Anyway, the Spreaker, you can sub up directly to the podcast feed. That's the best way, by the way. I think it's $5 a month, and there's no fees at all. There's Ko-Fi, Patreon, Troubled Fans, Shop, Buy Me a Coffee, all the rest of that. Don't do Rockfin. Don't send them money because we're in a weird space with Rockfin. They kicked us off and kicked everybody off. But anyway, the Troubled Fans Shop, like I said, it's cool because there's sweet merch. You will not find Michael Strange in a hot tub at troubledfans.com, but you will find the hottest Troubled Minds merch around. That's that. Check out there's some hoodies and stuff. It's still a little bit cold out there. Or there's some tank tops and whatnot for all the rest of the summer space coming up. But anyway, as we finish, it goes exactly like this. This one's for Squigs. Be the narrative you want to see on X. Peace out, everyone, and you're right. For Squigs, be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our Troubled Minds to yours, have a great night.